Never outshine the master. Power is a delicate dance of perception. To rise, you must learn when to dim your own light so that those above you can shine brighter. This law is not about hiding your brilliance, it's about controlling how that brilliance is perceived. In every hierarchy, the ego of the superior is a fragile thing, wrapped in pride and fear. When you stand too tall, too soon, your very presence can be interpreted as a threat. Even innocent excellence can be mistaken for defiance. Throughout history, those who dared to outshine their masters met quiet ruin. The world rewards talent, but fears it when it reflects too brightly upon those in power. When a master feels overshadowed, their instinct is not admiration, it is insecurity. And insecurity in power is a dangerous force. The moment you make your superior feel small, you ignite a silent war you cannot win. Their smiles may remain, but behind them, the seed of resentment grows. To master this law is to master restraint. When you are under a powerful figure, your goal is not to outdo them, it is to make them feel greater through you. Let them bask in the illusion of superiority. Make your brilliance seem borrowed from their wisdom. People crave validation more than truth. Feed that craving. The clever apprentice does not challenge his teacher. He allows the teacher to believe he has taught everything worth knowing. Think of the court of Louis XIV, where courtiers lived and died by appearances. The Sun King demanded to be the brightest light in the room. Those who forgot that truth, who dressed too splendidly, spoke too confidently, or drew too much attention, were cast out or quietly destroyed. The wise learned to orbit him, not rival him, shining just enough to reflect his glow. In modern life, the principle remains unchanged. A talented employee who flaunts their competence before an insecure boss invites sabotage. The performer who eclipses their mentor before the crowd risks exile. The ambitious politician who shows too much charisma before their leader soon finds themselves on the outside of power. It is not skill alone that determines success. It is the ability to manage ego, both yours and others. There is art in subtlety. True power often hides behind humility. Let others believe they are leading, teaching, inspiring. While they bask in their self-importance, you grow quietly, unthreateningly, gathering influence piece by piece. When you make others feel safe in their superiority, they lower their guard, and that is when you learn, advance, and eventually rise beyond their reach. But never too soon. Timing is everything. The moment you outshine the master, before you have built your own fortress of power, you expose yourself to envy's dagger. No one admits to envying the subordinate. They simply find reasons to dislike you, to correct your attitude, to limit your opportunities. You will not see the blow coming until it's too late. So, learn to be patient. There will come a time when your light can blaze without fear of shadowing another. Until then, dim it just enough. Make your superiors feel brilliant in your reflection. Let them believe the sun still rises and sets in their hands. For in their comfort lies your safety, and in their illusion lies your path to power. Never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies. Loyalty is a word that sounds pure, but in the world of power, it is laced with danger. Friends are drawn to you by emotion, by affection, by shared comfort, by familiarity. And emotion, volatile and shifting, makes for unstable foundations. Today, they celebrate your success. Tomorrow, they resent it. The same heart that cheers for you in your rise may turn cold when your shine begins to cast them in shadow. Trust built on emotion cracks the moment envy slips in. Friends betray not always from malice, but from weakness. Familiarity breeds carelessness, and carelessness breeds betrayal. The more a friend knows your secrets, your flaws, your vulnerabilities, the sharper the knife they could one day turn against you. You may think you are safe in their warmth, but warmth can burn. The one you let closest has the easiest aim at your back. Enemies, however, are made of different fire. They have already declared themselves. Their motives are not hidden beneath smiles. An enemy's hatred is predictable. It burns steady, honest in its intensity, and therein lies opportunity. When an enemy turns ally, their loyalty is born not of emotion, but of calculation, of need, of mutual benefit. They have something to prove, and because trust was once impossible, it becomes precious when earned. The friend takes trust for granted. The enemy values it as a rare gem. History glitters with this truth. When Julius Caesar pardoned his defeated rivals, they became his most devoted supporters, not out of love, but out of ambition and fear. They had tasted defeat and knew the cost of disloyalty. They worked harder to prove themselves than any complacent friend ever would. Contrast that with Caesar's trusted friend, Brutus, the one he called brother, who dealt the final blow. The psychology of friendship is dangerous to those who seek power. A friend expects leniency, expects access, expects to be treated as equal. They grow comfortable, entitled, and when power begins to tilt in your favor, they feel its imbalance like a wound. The unspoken question rises, why you, not me? That quiet bitterness is the first whisper of betrayal. An enemy, in contrast, expects nothing but vigilance. They are alert, calculating, sharp. You can measure them clearly because there is no illusion between you. You can strike a deal, knowing exactly what each side stands to gain, and in that clarity, there is safety, cold but reliable. Do not misunderstand this law. It is not a call to live lovelessly, but wisely. Friendship, if you must have it, belongs outside the realm of power. In matters of ambition, strategy, and survival, sentiment is a liability. Keep friends for laughter, not leverage. Use enemies for movement, not malice. When you learn to turn hostility into usefulness, you rise above those bound by emotion. To master your enemies is to master yourself, to control pride, temper, and fear until they bend into advantage. The one who learns to use an enemy holds a weapon that never dulls, for the enemy reminds you of danger, keeps you sharp, and often does more for your success than 1,000 soft words from friends ever could. Conceal your intentions. Power thrives in silence. The moment you speak your plans aloud, you surrender control of them. Words give others the map to your mind, the route to your desires, your weaknesses, your next move. Once people know your purpose, they can anticipate, counter, or destroy it. The most dangerous mistake a person of ambition can make is to believe that honesty earns safety. In truth, transparency invites interference. To conceal your intentions is not deception for its own sake. It is strategy. It is the art of moving in plain sight while revealing nothing. Like a magician who distracts the crowd with one hand while the other performs the trick, you must master misdirection. Keep others chasing shadows while you shape reality in silence. The less they understand your motives, the less they can resist them. Those who speak openly of their dreams invite predators. When you share your goals, you awaken envy in those who lack the same courage. You alert rivals who see opportunity in your ambition. Even well-meaning listeners can sabotage you through gossip or doubt. Silence, by contrast, creates mystery, and mystery is power. People fear what they cannot predict, and curiosity binds them tighter than trust ever could. Look at the great figures of history, conquerors, politicians, thinkers. Their success came not from loud declarations, but from quiet calculation. Napoleon never revealed the true direction of his armies until it was too late for his enemies to react. Entrepreneurs and leaders who dominate markets do so by masking their innovation until it strikes like lightning, sudden, blinding, unstoppable. To show your hand too soon is to lose the game before it begins. Human nature craves understanding. When denied it, people fill the silence with their own stories, and that is your weapon. Let them believe what they want. Let them think your intentions are harmless, foolish, or misdirected. Their underestimation is your camouflage. When they focus on the illusion, your real work proceeds unseen. You control perception, and perception controls power. Concealment also gives you freedom. When no one knows your true path, you are free to change direction without resistance or explanation. A revealed plan becomes a prison, an unseen one remains fluid. To be unpredictable is to be untouchable. The powerful move like smoke, shifting shape, impossible to grasp, always one step ahead. Even in personal life, this law applies. Reveal too much too soon, and you invite manipulation. When others know your fears, desires, or emotional triggers, they can steer you like a puppet. Silence, on the other hand, creates boundaries. It makes others wonder, question, and respect the mystery that surrounds you. The quiet person commands attention without ever asking for it, while the open book is easily read and forgotten. Yet concealing your intentions does not mean living as a liar. It means mastering timing. Speak when the outcome is certain, when revelation serves you more than secrecy. Until then, let your moves be whispers in the dark. The less people know about your motives, the more they will speculate, and in their guessing lies your advantage. In a world where everyone shouts their plans to prove worth, silence becomes an act of dominance. Conceal your intentions not out of fear, but out of power. Because mystery unsettles, silence controls, and secrecy, when wielded well, is the sharpest edge of all. Always say less than necessary. Power is often lost not through weakness, but through words. The tongue is a double-edged weapon. One side charms, the other betrays. The more you speak, the more you reveal your thoughts, your emotions, your fears, your limits. Silence, however, conceals all of that. It wraps you in mystery and forces others to wonder, to guess, to fill in the blanks with their own imagination. And imagination, when left unchecked, grants you more power than any truth ever could. When you speak too freely, you hand others ammunition. A careless phrase exposes intent. A nervous ramble reveals insecurity. Even honesty, when poured out too quickly, can be turned against you. Those who cannot control their words cannot control their destiny. Words are like currency. The more you spend, the less value they hold. The powerful know this instinctively. They measure their speech like gold. In the presence of the talkative, the quiet one always commands the room. Silence creates tension, and tension draws focus. People lean in, waiting, wondering what you will say next. And when you finally speak, just a few precise words, they land with the weight of thunder. The fewer your words, the greater their gravity. Look at how leaders, kings, and negotiators hold their power, not by talking endlessly, but by mastering the pause. The pause unsettles. It makes others reveal themselves, rush to fill the silence, expose their thoughts. Every moment you remain silent, the other person grows more desperate to interpret you, to please you, to earn your reaction. That is control. Silence makes people project strength onto you, even when you are still calculating your next move. In conversation, people crave validation. They overshare to impress, to connect, to feel seen. But every word is a window into your mind, and once open, it cannot be closed. The more someone knows about your motives, the easier it becomes for them to manipulate or counter you. To protect your power, your thoughts must remain your fortress. Say only what advances your goal, nothing more, nothing less. Even in persuasion, brevity is a secret weapon. The listener trusts what is left unsaid more than what is over-explained. When you speak simply, confidently, and without over-justifying, people sense authority. They interpret your silence as certainty. Over-explaining, on the other hand, reeks of insecurity. It tells the world you are seeking approval rather than commanding it. Consider the ancient emperors and diplomats. A single word from them could shift armies, but their silence could shape nations. When the powerful spoke, it was deliberate, an event, not a routine. Every syllable felt intentional, studied, sharp. In contrast, Those who talked endlessly were treated as noise, noticed for a moment, then forgotten. Even in personal life, restraint speaks volumes. The one who listens more than they speak becomes the mirror others see themselves in. People reveal everything to a quiet listener. They trust the silence. They fill it with their own secrets, unaware that they've already surrendered something precious. To say less than necessary is to hold the upper hand in every exchange. It keeps people off balance, guessing where you stand, what you think, what you truly know, and that uncertainty gives you leverage. The moment you start explaining yourself, you lower your position. Power does not shout, it whispers, it observes, it calculates, and it releases words like arrows, few but fatal. Let others waste their breath trying to be understood. You, instead, should master the art of mystery, because in silence lies fear, in brevity lies strength, and in restraint lies dominion. So much depends on reputation. Guard it with your life. Reputation is the shadow that walks before you. It enters the room long before your body does. It speaks when you are silent. It defends you when you are absent, and it destroys you when you neglect it. Power is not built on truth alone, but on perception. The world does not see who you truly are. It sees what your reputation allows it to believe. Once that image cracks, even your greatest strength can crumble into dust. Reputation is fragile because it exists in the minds of others, and people's minds are fickle things, shaped by whispers, influenced by envy, distorted by rumor. One careless act, one rash word, can undo years of careful construction. That is why the wise treat reputation as armor, polished daily, guarded fiercely, and never left in the hands of others. When you let others define how you are seen, you hand them your power. Those who understand this law know that image is as vital as reality. A flawless reputation can achieve what raw strength cannot. It can intimidate enemies, attract allies, and open doors that talent alone could never unlock. People do not question those who carry the aura of respect and authority. They yield to it, appear untouchable, and others will fear to test you, appear uncertain, and they will circle like vultures. Throughout history, empires have risen and fallen, not from battle, but from the slow erosion of reputation. Kings who lost their aura of invincibility were soon devoured by those who once bowed to them. A single scandal, a whisper of weakness, a trace of hypocrisy, it spreads like poison through the veins of power. The moment the illusion fades, the predators emerge. The art lies not only in building reputation, but in controlling the narrative that sustains it. Never let gossip write your story. Shape it yourself. Be deliberate in what you show the world, and ruthless in what you hide. Give them symbols to believe in, small, visible acts that reinforce your strength, your generosity, your brilliance. People remember gestures more than words. Feed their imagination and you feed your legend. But beware the opposite trap, the hunger to defend your image at every insult. Not every bark deserves your attention. Reacting too quickly to slander only gives it life. The powerful know when to strike and when to smile. Sometimes silence kills rumor faster than argument ever could. At other times, a precise and public retaliation reminds the world that your reputation is not a toy to be played with. Guarding reputation does not mean pretending to be perfect. Perfection invites envy. It means mastering consistency. People fear what they can predict, so become predictably powerful, predictably composed. Let your name become a symbol of stability. When others know that crossing you will cost them dearly, they will think twice before speaking your name in vain. In the end, reputation is your shadow, but you are its source. Every action feeds or poisons it. Treat it as your most prized possession, for once it slips away, you cannot chase it back. Protect it not with words, but with presence, with the quiet confidence of someone who knows that their image is their fortress, and their fortress is built of fire and stone. Court attention, at all costs. In the kingdom of power, invisibility is death. To be forgotten, ignored, or unseen is to be powerless. The world does not reward quiet brilliance. It crowns those who command attention. Attention is the currency of influence, the oxygen of relevance, the light in which power grows. You can have talent, intelligence, even virtue, but if no one notices you, it all dissolves into dust. To court attention at all costs is not vanity, it is survival. Human nature is drawn to spectacle. People do not follow truth, they follow presence. The loud, the bold, the dazzling. They captivate minds while the modest fade into the background. Attention is magnetism, and those who wield it bend others toward their will. Every age has its stars and its shadows. The stars are not always the most capable, but they are the ones who learn to shine brighter than the rest. To master this law is to understand that perception matters more than substance. What people believe about you shapes their reality of you. If they believe you are powerful, you are. If they believe you are special, they will treat you as such. Therefore, you must craft your image deliberately, appear larger than life, through confidence, distinct style, and bold movement. Stand where the eyes are looking. In a crowded room, the one who dares to be seen already holds power over those who don't. Throughout history, those who conquered attention conquered everything else. Cleopatra did not win with beauty alone. She turned her very presence into theater. Every gesture, every entrance was designed to mesmerize. Napoleon understood this too. He filled France with his image, his name, his myth. Even in defeat, the world still spoke his name, because attention, once captured, creates immortality. Yet, there is a dark art to this pursuit. Attention must be controlled, not desperate. Desperation reeks of weakness. The goal is not to beg for eyes, but to command them. Subtlety can often be more powerful than noise. A whisper in the right moment can pull more focus than a scream. To attract attention, you must learn contrast. When everyone shouts, speak softly. When everyone conforms, defy expectation. In a world of sameness, difference becomes dominance. You must also understand the paradox. Attention brings power, but too much exposure brings danger. Once people fix their gaze on you, they begin to search for flaws. The crowd that once cheered can quickly turn to mockery if your image falters. The key is to remain just out of reach, visible but mysterious, admired but never too familiar. Let your presence feel earned. In the modern age, this law is more alive than ever. In the flood of noise and endless visibility, attention has become a battlefield. Every person, brand, and idea fights for a sliver of the spotlight. To win, you must be deliberate. Craft symbols, gestures, or words that burn themselves into memory. Be unpredictable, each act a performance that renews curiosity. To court attention at all costs is not about arrogance. It is about power through presence. The eyes of the world are fickle. They must be caught, challenged, seduced, and surprised, because the moment they look away, your power begins to fade. Never allow obscurity to swallow your name. Let your presence haunt rooms you've never entered. Be unforgettable, not because you must be seen, but because the world cannot look away. Get others to do the work for you, but always take the credit. Power is not earned by effort alone. It is earned by ownership. The world rarely remembers who built the machine. It remembers who turned it on. To command true power, you must learn to harness the skills, time, and genius of others, while ensuring that the glow of success illuminates only you. The art lies not in doing everything yourself, but in orchestrating others so masterfully that their labor becomes the foundation of your greatness. Those who insist on doing it all themselves die exhausted and forgotten. The powerful understand leverage. They delegate the grind, the details, the invisible work, while reserving for themselves the glory, the vision, and the applause. In every great empire, invention, or revolution, the figure at the center was not always the one who built, it was the one who claimed, the one who made the work his own through ownership, refinement, or presentation. Look at Thomas Edison. While many of his inventions were refined or developed by others in his labs, it was his name that echoed through history. He didn't simply create, he branded creation. He turned the work of many into a single myth, his. And that is the essence of power, transforming collective effort into a singular legend. This law is not about theft, it's about mastery of perception. You reward those who labor for you, but you ensure that the narrative flows upward. Give credit sparingly, strategically. Let people feel acknowledged enough to stay loyal, but never enough to outshine you. They must see themselves as instruments of a greater force, yours. When they work for you, their success becomes part of your story. When they succeed too much on their own, they become your rival. The secret to this control lies in invisibility. The puppet master never shows his strings. Let others appear free while you quietly guide their direction. Feed them ideas disguised as their own, and they will defend them with passion. Provide them the stage, but control the script. Then, when the performance ends, the applause will always drift toward the one who wrote the play, not the actors who spoke the lines. History bows to those who understood this law, the generals who took glory for their soldiers' triumphs, the kings who accepted credit for their advisors' brilliance, the entrepreneurs who capitalize on the labor of unseen teams. They all understood that recognition, not effort, is the currency of power. The crowd does not look behind the curtain. They look at who stands beneath the spotlight. In the game of power, effort is a tool. Visibility is the prize. Those who crave validation for their labor remain workers forever. Those who crave ownership of the result become rulers. Even in everyday life, this law governs the subtle hierarchy between leaders and followers. The manager who presents his team's work as his own gains advancement. The artist who uses others' skills to elevate his vision gains immortality. But the art of taking credit must be elegant. Crudeness breeds resentment. The powerful do not snatch credit. They absorb it. They make others believe that their own success shines brighter because it reflects their leader's brilliance. Gratitude replaces bitterness, and loyalty deepens under illusion. So, become the architect of outcomes, not just actions. Let others sweat while you strategize. Let them build while you brand. Power belongs to the one who writes the story, not the one who performs it. In the end, history remembers names, not hands, and it will be your name that stands above the rest if you master the quiet theft of glory. Make other people come to you. Use bait if necessary. There is incomparable strength in stillness. To draw others toward you is to place them in your currents, to let their momentum serve your purpose while you remain the calm center. When you force your way forward, you expend energy, reveal your needs, and show your hand. When you make others come, they do the work of approaching, of revealing, of committing. Bait is not bribery, it is design. It is the careful laying of an irresistible promise, an invitation that wakes desire and curiosity, so people step willingly into the field you've prepared. People chase what they think they cannot have. Scarcity and allure twist desire into action. Make yourself the horizon they row toward, a reputation, a promise, a subtle advantage that seems just out of reach. Let them imagine the victory. Feel the warmth of being chosen. While they pursue, they disclose intentions, weaknesses, alliances. You siphon information without asking. You gain power without chasing. There is cunning in withholding, in planting a hint of opportunity and watching the world bend to claim it. This law is about mastery of environment. Create settings that invite others to reveal themselves. A well-timed compliment that compels confession. A staged retreat that invites pursuit, an alluring offer that forces negotiation on your terms. People who come to you are invested from the first step. They have already paid with attention, with pride, with momentum. They are softer, more malleable, because they have already convinced themselves to arrive. The hunter who chases exhausts. The hunter who waits and lures collects. Emotion fuels the bait. Make the promise warm enough to stir hope, but vague enough to ensure dependency. Pride will drive a rival to prove themselves. Fear will drive an ally to seek shelter. Desire will drive a partner to offer more than they intended. In every approach, you witness the map of their soul, their greed, their loyalty, their shame. That map is more valuable than any confession extracted by force. Let your moves be subtle theatrics. An empty seat at a table can feel like a throne. A small favor offered and then retracted can create urgency. A hint of endorsement can make followers queue. The world will run toward what is framed as desirable. While they rush, you remain composed, deciding who enters and on what terms. Timing and bait transform action into consent. To summon another is to control the story they tell themselves. They will rationalize their arrival as choice, not manipulation. This self-deception binds them tighter, and when they come, they arrive with momentum, eager, indebted, exposed, perfect soil for the seeds you plant.
Win through your actions, never through argument.
Words are seductive. They promise power without effort, victory without cost. But argument is the illusion of control. You may win the debate, but the moment you do, you create an enemy. Pride will not let the defeated accept your logic, no matter how flawless it is. People rarely change their minds through reason. They change when reality forces them to. That is why power belongs not to the one who talks best, but to the one who acts. Action silences resistance. It cannot be debated. It cannot be denied. When your results speak, no argument can stand against them. Those who cling to words reveal weakness. They need validation. They seek approval. They try to convince instead of command. But those who move quietly, strategically, and decisively radiate authority. They leave others no space for doubt. In every realm, politics, art, business, love, the talkers are forgotten, but the doers are remembered. 1,000 speeches cannot equal one undeniable act. People may not like what you do, but they cannot ignore it. Words fade into air. Deeds carve themselves into memory. You do not need to explain yourself when your actions have already proven the truth. Argument feeds ego, not influence. It tempts you to prove yourself right, rather than to achieve what matters. The louder the voice, the weaker the position becomes. In conflict, the wise understand this. The one who stays calm, who listens, who acts without defending, will always appear stronger. Silence is a blade sharper than any rebuttal. Let the other person exhaust themselves with words while you prepare your move. When your action comes, it will end the conversation entirely. History bows to those who acted, not those who argued. When Alexander faced dissent, he didn't persuade, he conquered. When innovators face skepticism, they don't debate, they build. Even in personal life, this law holds true. Trying to convince someone of your worth only diminishes it. Show them. Let them feel the weight of your capability instead of hearing about it. The psychology behind this is simple. Arguments attack identity, while actions bypass it. When you argue, you corner someone's pride. They fight not for truth, but for dignity. But when your actions quietly display results, even your enemies must respect you. They may hate you, but they will not forget what you did. And respect, even born from resentment, is a form of power. The powerful do not waste words trying to justify themselves. They understand that explanation is a form of weakness, an admission that you need to be understood. When you act, you place others in a position where they must react. That is control. Each move you make becomes a statement stronger than any speech.
undeniable, unanswerable, final.
So let others argue about right and wrong. Let them drown in noise. You will move in silence, and when the dust settles, only your results will remain. Actions end debates. Arguments feed them. The one who acts commands the stage, while the one who argues merely fills the air. Power is not in the tongue, it is in the hand that moves while others are still speaking. Infection. Avoid the unhappy and unlucky. There are people whose very presence drains the air from the room, whose touch carries the invisible weight of misfortune. Misery is not just an emotion, it is a contagion. Like a disease, it spreads quietly, infecting your thoughts, your energy, your spirit. The unhappy and the unlucky carry storms within them, and when you stand too close, you get struck by their lightning. To associate too deeply with such people is to gamble with your own fate. Energy is contagious. Spend enough time with the bitter, and bitterness becomes your language. Dwell among the fearful, and their fear seeps into your decisions. The unlucky often attract chaos, not because the universe conspires against them, but because they live in patterns of self-destruction they refuse to see. Their pain demands company. Their failure seeks witnesses, and without realizing it, you become part of their tragedy. The powerful understand that emotion is environment. They guard their circle as a king guards his throne, allowing no one who brings corrosion to their peace. Sympathy is noble, but in the game of power, it is dangerous. The miserable will rarely lift you up. They will pull you down to feel less alone. Their sadness feeds on attention, and once you start feeding it, it never stops. History is full of kings, generals, and leaders who fell not by the sword, but by association. Those who trusted the wrong allies, who kept company with the doomed, found themselves swallowed by the same fate. Misery loves company not out of love, but out of hunger. It feeds on compassion, on proximity, on the kindness of those who think they can save it. You cannot rescue those who cling to their suffering. It is the fire they warm themselves with. This law is not about cruelty. It is about survival. You must learn to recognize the signs, the endless complaining disguised as honesty, the self-pity wrapped in humility, the chaos that follows them everywhere they go. These are not coincidences, they are patterns. To remain close to such people is to invite their storms into your own home. Distance, in such cases, is not coldness, it is protection. There are those who carry light within them, whose presence uplifts, whose victories inspire. Seek them. Align yourself with those who are rising, who see the world through possibility rather than pain. Success has a rhythm. When you stand beside those who move with confidence and purpose, that rhythm becomes your own. Fortune is not random. It flows toward those who attract it through belief, energy, and discipline. Yet many fall into the trap of guilt. They believe that distancing themselves from the unhappy is heartless. But understand this, you do no one any good by drowning with them. The best way to help the lost is to stay on the shore, to remain strong enough that your example shows them there is another way to live. Compassion does not mean proximity. Sometimes it means absence. The world is built on vibration. Some rise, some sink. Your power depends on what frequency you choose to live in. Protect your energy as fiercely as your reputation. When someone's life is a battlefield of endless loss and resentment, step away before you become another casualty. Misfortune clings to those who court it, but luck blooms around those who guard their spirit. Avoid the unhappy and the unlucky, not because you despise them, but because you refuse to be infected by their despair. Power cannot flourish in poisoned soil. Walk where light moves and let darkness consume itself alone. Learn to keep people dependent on you. Power is never safe when others can walk away from you. The moment they realize they no longer need you, your influence dies. To remain in control, you must ensure that those around you, friends, followers, subordinates, even superiors, depend on you for something vital. Dependency is the invisible chain that binds loyalty more securely than love, fear, or respect ever could. The essence of dominance is not force, it's necessity. People are predictable when they need you. Their fear of losing your guidance, your protection, or your resources keeps them compliant, devoted, and afraid to betray you. But once they can stand without you, they will do what all free creatures do: wander. That is the natural law of independence. To hold power, you must subtly make yourself indispensable. Your value must feel irreplaceable, your absence unthinkable. The great rulers of history understood this law with ruthless precision. Kings allowed their advisors just enough influence to be useful, but never enough to be self-sufficient. Employers keep their best workers hungry for approval or advancement. Politicians tie their supporters' fortunes to their continued reign. Even lovers, knowingly or not, use this power, becoming the emotional lifeline the other cannot imagine living without. To create dependency, you must understand what people crave most, and then become the only source of it. For some, it is validation. For others, it is opportunity, protection, or even excitement. Once you supply that need, you control not just their actions, but their emotions. They will tolerate your flaws, overlook your manipulations, and defend you against all reason because your absence feels like loss. The danger lies in giving too much freedom too early. When you teach someone everything you know, when you empower them fully, you create your replacement. Knowledge should be given in portions, enough to make them effective, but never enough to make them independent. The teacher who imparts every secret makes himself obsolete. The master who withholds just enough ensures eternal relevance. Dependence should be crafted like a web, delicate but unbreakable. Each thread connects to something they value: success, comfort, recognition, security. They must believe that their world collapses without you. A good manipulator never says, "You need me." They make others feel it. They create a subtle emotional ecosystem where leaving feels like suffocation. But this power must be disguised as generosity. The dependent must think they are free, that their loyalty is a choice. If they sense manipulation, they will resist. Cloak your control in kindness. Help them when no one else does. Support them in ways others can't. Make them believe you are their greatest ally. Gratitude will mask their captivity. Think of the spider. It doesn't chase its prey. It builds the web and waits. Dependency works the same. Once entangled, people struggle not to escape, but to stay. Their reliance becomes their prison, and you, the quiet warden who holds the key. To be feared is dangerous. To be needed is divine. Fear fades, resentment festers, but need endures. As long as someone depends on you, their freedom is an illusion, and your power is absolute. So give them what they cannot find elsewhere. Feed their need until it becomes part of who they are. For when others cannot breathe without you, you no longer need to fight for control. Control will come to you on its knees. Use selective honesty and generosity to disarm your victim. Truth, when handed like a rare coin, shimmers with a power honesty alone rarely holds. A single well-placed confession or a small unexpected act of generosity cracks the armor of suspicion and flips the world in your favor. People expect falsehood where power plays are at work. When you violate that expectation with a sliver of sincerity, it feels like a miracle, intoxicating, destabilizing, and utterly disarming. That shock of authenticity makes the other person drop their guard, whisper their secrets, and rearrange their loyalties around you. This is not virtue for virtue's sake. It is strategy wrapped in the language of compassion, a carefully timed truth, an admission of a small error, a candid regret, a vulnerability makes you human. It dissolves the elegant distance that separates predator from prey and replaces it with a fragile intimacy. Generosity, likewise, acts as a payment for trust. a token favor, a public compliment, an unexpected concession. These gestures create a ledger in the other person's mind. They feel indebted, seen, grateful. Debt breeds obligation. Obligation becomes leverage. Emotion is the fuel. When your opponent expects manipulation and instead receives candor, their brain hunts for an explanation, and in that search, they invent reasons to like you. They rationalize your honesty, magnify it, project it into a narrative where you are trustworthy. That narrative becomes sticky. People repeat it to themselves and to others, and soon you are not merely tolerated, you are trusted. Once trust blooms, extracting cooperation, information, or loyalty becomes tragically easy. History offers 1,000 quiet betrayals birthed by this law. A general pardons a rival with a handshake and a humble phrase. The rival, touched and relieved, swears fealty that rings truer because it was bought with mercy. A negotiator admits a minor oversight mid-deal. The other side, relieved, reciprocates with a concession 10 times greater. In private life, confessing a petty fault or offering a small gift dissolves tension, invites confession, and opens the door to influence. People trade their defenses for the warmth you supplied. There is artistry in balance. Too much honesty makes you predictable. Too much generosity bankrupts you. The trick is to calibrate. Offer enough truth to appear rare and enough kindness to create gratitude, but never so much that you expose the whole skeleton beneath your power. Let your honesty be a spotlight on a single harmless flaw. Let your generosity be a bridge, not a highway. Keep the rest of your design hidden. Beware the moral discomfort this technique may awaken. You will feel the double throb of empathy and calculation, both intoxicating, both dangerous. Use this law with the awareness that you are bending human warmth into strategy. When deployed with precision, a single genuine word or a small favor will collapse suspicion, tilt loyalties, and leave your victim reaching for you as if by choice. In that moment of borrowed trust, you stand not as a tyrant but as a confidant, and that is when influence becomes inevitable.
When asking for help, appeal to people's self-interests.
No one helps you simply because you need it. The world is not built on sympathy. It runs on incentive. People are driven by their own desires, fears, and ambitions. To ask for help by appealing to compassion or loyalty is to misunderstand human nature. The moment your request feels like a burden, it breeds resistance. But when it feels like an opportunity, when helping you serves their own interests, you turn reluctance into enthusiasm. Every person, no matter how kind or noble they appear, looks for value in every exchange. It may not be money, it may be pride, recognition, influence, or emotional satisfaction, but it is always something. The mistake most make is asking for aid through guilt or pity. Please help me. I really need this. Those words create distance, a silent discomfort. They make the listener feel superior, not invested. Yet when you reframe your request, when you say, "This will benefit us both," or "You're the perfect person for this," you awaken something far stronger than pity, desire. People want to feel powerful, useful, and important. The key is to let them believe that helping you fulfills those needs. Feed their self-image. Let them feel clever for saying yes, admired for being capable, respected for being needed. When you appeal to their pride, generosity follows naturally. History proves this law relentlessly. Politicians win support not by pleading for help, but by convincing voters that their interests are aligned. Generals motivate armies not with mercy, but with promises of honor, glory, or vengeance. Even in friendships and love, persuasion works best when it flatters the other person's sense of value. The question is never, "What do I need?" It's, "What do they want, and how does helping me give it to them?" To master this law, you must learn to see through other eyes. Step into their mind, understand their fears, ambitions, and insecurities. Every request you make should be wrapped in language that reflects their world, not yours. If you need support from someone ambitious, show how your success advances theirs. If they crave recognition, promise credit and visibility. If they are cautious, emphasize safety and shared control. People will move mountains for you when the mountain leads them to something they already desire. Appealing to self-interest is not manipulation, it is realism. Even generosity often hides self-serving roots. The philanthropist donates for legacy. The mentor teaches to feel wise. The friend comforts to feel needed. Understanding this truth does not make you cold. It makes you effective. You stop expecting fairness and start speaking the language people actually hear. What's in it for me? Never reveal that you seek help out of desperation. Desperation repels. Opportunity attracts. Make the person feel that aiding you is not charity, but strategy. Let them walk away believing they made the smart choice, not the kind one. When you align your needs with another's self-interest, resistance dissolves. The world opens to those who understand that influence is not won through begging, it is earned through alignment. So when you ask, do not plead. Instead, hold up a mirror that reflects their desires and let them see their own reflection in your success. Pose as a friend, work as a spy. To influence, survive, and win in the shadowy corridors of power, you must learn the ancient art of appearing harmless while collecting the truth. Friendship is the softest mask for a sharp purpose. When someone believes you are on their side, their defenses drop. They open their heart, their plans, the very map of their ambitions. A friend is given access that no outsider could ever demand. That access is currency, quiet, priceless, and lethal when spent with precision. This law is not theater for the faint-hearted. It is intelligence wrapped in charm. You do not announce your spying with grand gestures. You fold into conversation, laugh at the right moments, listen with a tenderness that feels genuine. People leak who they trust. They reveal irritations, secret favors, disappointments, alliances, and small betrayals. All of this becomes raw material, data you can shape into strategy. The friend who is also an observer learns not only facts, but the emotional rhythms that steer decisions. That is the difference between knowing and predicting. Humans crave empathy. When you mirror warmth, ask questions, show curiosity without judgment, you become a confidant. They will tell you what they would never tell a rival. They will show you the side door, the weak guard, the hidden motive. You gather not by force, but by invitation. Every fond word, every shared joke, every moment of vulnerability is a thread you can follow into the tapestry of someone's world. The point is not cruelty, it is survival. In the arena of ambition, knowledge saved is power preserved. History remembers the smooth operators, the diplomat who smiled while mapping an enemy's fears, the courtier who laughed while memorizing alliances, the partner who listened while cataloging leverage. Their success came because they made others feel seen, understood, indispensable. While people basked in that glow, their true positions were being quietly recorded. The spy friend understands nuance, when to sympathize, when to prod, when to vanish. Each interaction is a test, and each test yields what you need to steer outcomes later. Yet there is a moral temperature to consider. To pose as a friend and then betray that trust is a hot blade, effective but corrosive. Use this law with strategic restraint. The skill is not to become a heartless predator, but a discreet architect of advantage. Let people expose themselves to you, thinking they have found an ally. Listen like you plan to learn forever, even if you act tomorrow. Remember that knowledge without appearance is worthless. Presentation is your camouflage, curiosity your instrument. Master this balance and you move through rooms like a ghost with a human face. Seen, liked, trusted, all while your eyes catalog the hidden maps of power. Keep your kindness believable, your questions natural, your memory sharp. In the end, influence is less about force and more about intimacy disguised as friendship, and those who wield it often decide the fate of others long before anyone realizes the game has begun. Crush your enemy totally. There is mercy in weakness and cruelty in half measures. To leave an enemy wounded is to leave a ghost that returns to haunt you. Unfinished business grows teeth and a plan. Power answers to permanence. Partial victory breeds revenge, while total elimination secures the future. Crushing an adversary absolutely is not sadism. It is strategic mercy for yourself. It is the cold calculus that says, better a decisive end now than a slow, corrosive war later. When you allow an opponent to survive, you grant them time to lick their wounds, to build allies in the dark, to plot revenge with the patience of the doomed. History is littered with the corpses of half-conquered rivals who waited, bided, and struck when complacency crept in. The seeds of your downfall are sown the moment you spare a rival's pride. Enemies left alive will poison goodwill, whisper doubts into your circles, and turn minor grievances into existential threats. The smart ruler, the cunning negotiator, the ruthless strategist knows that mercy without power is a luxury you cannot afford. Crushing totally means denying the enemy the tools of return. It means dismantling their networks, exposing their weaknesses, and erasing their ability to threaten you again, politically, reputationally, economically. It is a sweep so clean that the memory of resistance becomes an object lesson rather than a continuing risk. Let them be a warning to others. Challenge me and you will vanish from the map of possibility. Such eradication creates a silence so absolute that it breeds obedience through fear and respect alike. This law has been proven again and again. Empires that tolerated rivals found their borders undermined by insurgents. Leaders who pardoned conspirators later paid with their thrones. The unforgiving victors wrote history. The hesitant survivors wrote apologies. There is a merciless clarity in total victory. It is prevention disguised as aggression. You do not destroy because you enjoy the act, but because you understand the cost of incompletion. Power does not negotiate with ghosts. It eliminates them. Emotion will whisper otherwise. Compassion, image, the fear of being seen as cruel. These are real, and they can be used against you. Show weakness by sparing the dangerous, and others will see your compassion as an opening. Your enemies will mistake your restraint for indecision and will test you until you break. Strength, dressed in mercy, invites exploitation. Decisive finality commands a different calculus from the world. People think twice before challenging someone who erases threats, because memory of the eradicated cuts deeper than any plea. Yet the act must be precise, not chaotic. Uncontrolled brutality breeds martyrs, rallying causes, and the kind of moral backlash that turns a political victory into a historic stain. The powerful do not indulge in spectacle for its own sake. They remove danger and then manage perception, so the deed appears inevitable, unavoidable, and, if possible, righteous. The goal is not to revel in ruin, but to create such thoroughness that the chance of retaliation becomes a fantasy. To master this law is to accept a hard truth. Safety sometimes requires finality. In arenas of ambition, where reputations, fortunes, and lives are at stake, unfinished business is the most costly indulgence of all. Crush the enemy wholly, so that their name becomes a lesson, not a threat, and your dominion can breathe without the storm on its horizon. Use absence to increase respect and honor. Presence dulls perception. The more people see you, the more they believe they understand you. Familiarity drains intrigue, and what is always available soon feels ordinary. Absence, however, is magnetic. It creates space for longing, imagination, and reverence. To vanish, strategically and with purpose, is to let your silence speak louder than constant presence ever could. When you remove yourself, people begin to feel the weight of your absence. They remember your value, replay your words, and wonder why you are gone. That wondering becomes power. In every court, workplace, or relationship, constant availability breeds invisibility. When you are always there, your presence becomes expected, your worth assumed. People stop noticing what they have because they never get the chance to miss it. Withdrawal breaks that rhythm. It stirs discomfort, curiosity, and sometimes guilt. It reminds others that your presence is a privilege, not a guarantee. Absence sharpens memory. The human mind romanticizes what it cannot possess or predict. When you step away, you allow others to rewrite your image in their imagination, stronger, brighter, grander than before. They forget your flaws, your humanity, and instead see only what impressed them. This psychological mirage gives you leverage. When you return, you arrive not as you were, but as the legend they created in your absence. Look at the great leaders and artists who mastered disappearance. Kings who withdrew from the public eye were worshipped as divine. Thinkers who fell silent after brilliance were seen as geniuses beyond reach. Even lovers who disappear after intimacy are chased with desperation, their absence burning hotter than their presence ever could. To vanish at your peak moment is to lock yourself in the amber of memory. Yet absence is an art. It must be timed. Withdraw too early and you are forgotten. Stay too long and you are replaced. The power lies in rhythm, in appearing when impact is highest and retreating before familiarity dulls your shine. It is the same principle that governs music, performance, and war. The pause between notes, the silence before the strike, the retreat before the next assault. Those who understand timing control the emotional pulse of those around them. Absence also demands confidence. To step back without fear of being forgotten means you understand your own worth. Weak people cling to presence because they fear irrelevance. The powerful let mystery work for them. By choosing silence, you declare that you are not desperate for attention. You command it. When done well, absence rewires relationships. Your return becomes an event. People lean closer, eager, apologetic, grateful. They remember what they lost and overcompensate to keep you. That is the alchemy of distance. It turns ordinary presence into precious rarity. Use absence as both weapon and mirror. It reveals who truly values you, who panics when you are gone, and who never noticed your worth to begin with. It restores your control over perception, forces the world to measure your silence, and teaches those around you that your time is sacred. Do not fear fading from the room. Fear staying too long in it. Presence is common. Disappearance is divine. Keep others in suspended terror. Cultivate an air of unpredictability. Predictability is comfort, and comfort breeds complacency. When people think they understand you, when they can anticipate your every move, they begin to feel safe, and safety breeds control, not for you, but for them. To maintain power, you must never allow others to map your mind. You must become the storm they can never forecast, the flame that flickers without pattern, the force that unsettles simply by existing. Humans crave order. We are wired to seek patterns, to predict outcomes, to feel secure in knowing what comes next. That is why unpredictability holds such power. It disrupts the rhythm of expectation. When people cannot read your intentions, they grow anxious. That anxiety makes them cautious, hesitant, and malleable. It keeps them walking on eggshells, afraid to offend, afraid to act without your approval. Fear, not affection, is often what preserves authority. In the courts of kings, in the boardrooms of the powerful, the unpredictable are always the most feared. Their silence feels loaded, their calmness dangerous, their decisions impossible to predict. Everyone else begins to tread lightly, seeking approval, adjusting behavior, trying to avoid the unknown. That uncertainty gives you control, because when others cannot predict you, they cannot prepare for you. Even the illusion of volatility can be enough. A sudden change in tone, a sharp pause in conversation, a decision that defies logic. These moments plant seeds of doubt. They make others question what else you might do, how far you might go. Your unpredictability becomes a weapon, forcing everyone around you into a constant state of mental calculation, forever trying to guess your next move and forever failing. History remembers the ones who ruled through calculated chaos. Napoleon's enemies never knew when or where he would strike, and their confusion became his greatest advantage. In politics, in war, in negotiation, those who are too steady become transparent. Those who are unreadable become untouchable. The greatest strategists move like mist, appearing where least expected, retreating before understanding can catch them. In personal power, unpredictability also demands respect. When you react to insults with calm one day and fury the next, people hesitate to cross you again. When you seem warm in one moment and detached in another, they cling to your approval, never knowing which version of you they will face. It's not cruelty, it's control. Fear of the unknown keeps others orbiting around you, alert and respectful. But there is an art to this chaos. Unpredictability must never be random. It must be deliberate. Too much confusion and you appear unstable, weak, or mad. True mastery lies in balance. Your unpredictability must have rhythm, a hidden logic only you understand. It is the tension between order and chaos that keeps others both intrigued and intimidated. Those who cannot be predicted cannot be controlled. The moment people feel they've figured you out, your power begins to fade. So, keep them guessing. Be consistent only in your inconsistency. Let your silence feel dangerous. Your laughter feel uncertain. Your kindness feel conditional. They will learn to respect your presence and fear your absence, because the one thing more terrifying than an enemy who hates you is a mind they cannot read. Do not build fortresses to protect yourself. Isolation is dangerous. Power feeds on connection, movement, and awareness. The moment you wall yourself off from the world, you begin to die slowly, unseen, unheard, and uninformed. Isolation feels safe, but it is a lie dressed as comfort. Behind the walls you build, your instincts dull, your perspective narrows, and your enemies multiply in the silence. When you cut yourself off from the pulse of people, you lose touch with the very energy that sustains influence. The fortress is seductive because it promises control. You tell yourself you're avoiding drama, danger, betrayal. But the truth is, isolation breeds blindness. You stop hearing whispers before they become storms. You stop seeing shifts in loyalty, changes in power, cracks in the ground beneath you. What begins as protection soon becomes a cage. Inside, paranoia festers. Every shadow feels like a threat because you no longer understand the light. History is littered with the ruins of those who built walls too high. The more a ruler separates from their subjects, the faster their throne begins to rot. Kings who surrounded themselves with silence were the first to fall when rebellion came, because no one warned them. The same holds true today. Leaders who hide behind assistance, executives who fear open dialogue, lovers who avoid vulnerability, all fall victim to the same illusion of safety. Isolation makes you vulnerable not to others, but to yourself. Alone, the mind turns inward and begins to distort reality. You start to believe your fears are truths, your assumptions are facts, your opinions are wisdom. Without the mirror of others, your perspective warps. The strong become paranoid. The paranoid become weak. The echo of your own voice eventually deafens you. Power thrives in networks. Information is its bloodstream, and people are its organs. Every conversation, every interaction, every subtle exchange feeds your understanding of the landscape. To step away from that is to starve yourself of oxygen. The truly powerful do not hide. They circulate. They move through crowds, listen without revealing, touch lives without binding. Their presence is felt everywhere, yet owned by no one. There is also emotional danger in isolation. The human spirit decays without friction, without connection, without contrast. When you withdraw too deeply, your empathy fades, your judgment blurs, your courage weakens. The world becomes an abstract idea instead of a living, breathing force. The powerful remain human by staying among humans, watching, learning, adapting. Yet, connection does not mean exposure. The wise learn to be among others without losing themselves. They are present but not predictable. They hear everything but reveal little. This is the balance. Stay in the open, yet remain unreadable. A fortress keeps danger out, but it also keeps opportunity away. The moment you cut yourself off, your enemies grow bolder, unseen. Gossip thrives where you are absent. Rumors breed where your presence is missing. People fear what they do not understand, and in your absence, they will invent their own stories about you. Those stories will become your reputation, and you won't be there to shape it. So walk among the world. Listen to the whispers. Feel the shifting air. Power is not built behind walls. It is built in motion. Stay connected. Stay alert. Stay adaptable. Because isolation doesn't protect you from the world. It quietly hands you over to it. Know who you're dealing with. Do not offend the wrong person. People wear masks, smiles that hide teeth, laughter that hides agendas, compliments that conceal knives. To move through the world of influence without stumbling, you must learn the cruel art of recognition. Who is harmless, who is fragile, and who carries a storm in their chest. Every interaction is a minefield. A careless word, a thoughtless slight, can trigger forces you never imagined. Power begins with perception, seeing the true character behind the courteous face, and acting with a precision that spares you from unnecessary war. Mistaking temperament for harmlessness is the most common fatal error. Some react to insult like a simmering pot, quiet at first, then eruptive in a way that destroys everything nearby. Others wear rage like armor, blunt and obvious. They are easy to avoid. The dangerous ones are those who turn injury into strategy. They catalog slights, remember names, and wait for a moment when your guard is down. Offend them once, and you might light a fuse that burns for years. Offend them wrong, and their retribution will not be petty, but surgical. History is ruthless with the inattentive. Kings misjudged nobles and paid with thrones. CEOs misread rivals and lost empires. Lovers misread slights and found themselves ruined by rumors whispered with patient malice. The offended can become the architect of your downfall, not because they are stronger, but because they are smarter in their vengeance. A man slighted in private learns to wage war in secrecy. A public insult provokes a counterattack designed to humiliate, not defeat. The wise watch for both. To know who you're dealing with, you must observe more than you speak. Notice how someone handles small provocations. Does their face change? Do their eyes narrow? Do they withdraw only to plan? Listen to what they do when no one is looking. People reveal their true rules in quiet moments. How they treat the waiter, how they respond to delay, how they react when a plan fails. These are the fingerprints of character. Study them and you can predict how they will respond when provoked. Do not confuse charm for weakness. Some of the deadliest adversaries are the most pleasant to your face. Their civility is strategy, an invitation to let down your guard. Flattery can be a trap, friendliness, a net. Respectful distance is not rudeness, it is prudence. Learn to deliver offense only when you can absorb the fallout and use it to your advantage. If you cannot, silence becomes your best weapon. And remember, retaliation is rarely symmetrical. The wrong person will not merely retaliate, they will transform slight into legend, rally allies, and turn the moral universe against you. Power is built on reputation. Let the wrong person smear it, and you will find your pillars vanish. Better to misstep with caution than to walk boldly into a storm you cannot weather. The strongest command is often the one that chooses not to provoke. To master influence, cultivate discernment as sharply as you cultivate ambition. Know the weight of words before letting them fall. For in this world, perception is destiny, and offending the wrong person can make your name a currency of ruin. Do not commit to anyone. The moment you commit, you surrender freedom. You tie your fate to another's emotions, ambitions, and instability, giving them power over your direction. The truly powerful move like air, untouchable, adaptable, belonging to no one. When people cannot predict where you stand, they chase your allegiance, they fight for your favor, and in that competition, you rise above them. Commitment is a chain disguised as loyalty. Independence is the weapon that keeps others uncertain, desirous, and off balance. To commit to one side is to inherit its enemies. You take on its battles, its weaknesses, its downfall. History is littered with those who pledged allegiance too early, their futures crushed when their chosen masters fell. The wise keep their distance, hovering between forces, appearing supportive yet never anchored. This fluidity confuses rivals and seduces allies. Everyone wants to claim the favor of the one who cannot be claimed. People crave certainty. They want to know who is with them, who is against them, who they can depend on. The moment you deny them that clarity, you gain psychological control. Your neutrality becomes a mystery, your approval, a prize. Each side begins to court you, to offer, to reveal. You learn their secrets, feel their fears, and command their respect, not because you begged for loyalty, but because you withheld it. In politics, business, or love, this law never fails. The ruler who stays neutral between rivals forces both to compete for alliance, driving their price higher. The lover who remains slightly out of reach keeps passion burning, while the one who commits fully becomes routine. The employee who aligns too closely with one faction at work becomes vulnerable when tides shift, but the one who floats between groups remains useful to all and disposable to none. This law is not about cold detachment, it is about control. When you remain independent, you control your own rhythm. You can lean toward one side to gain favor, then lean away when it becomes dangerous. You can show loyalty when it serves you and distance when it protects you. The power lies not in rebellion, but in balance, the ability to seem aligned while staying free. Emotion is the enemy of this discipline. It whispers loyalty, love, belonging, but emotion binds. Those who let affection dictate allegiance soon find themselves fighting battles that are not their own, bleeding for causes that give them no power. The strong may feel deeply, but they act strategically. They understand that loyalty, like currency, must be spent sparingly, only when the return outweighs the risk. When you refuse to commit, you create an aura of independence that magnetizes. People read mystery as strength. They call you wise, diplomatic, unpredictable. They do not realize you are simply unbound. You may play both sides, agree with both, even promise both, so long as your heart belongs to none. To belong to yourself entirely is the highest form of dominance, and yet the art lies in subtlety. Never declare your detachment, let it be sensed, not stated. Speak warmly to all, promise little, and deliver only what benefits you. Your neutrality should feel like fairness, your distance like dignity. Those around you will interpret your lack of commitment as integrity, when in truth, it is mastery. In a world that feeds on loyalty, those who stay unclaimed become the most desired. Never chain yourself to another's ambition. Move like water, taking shape where needed, but never held. The power you gain from freedom is worth more than the security of belonging. Play a sucker to catch a sucker. Seem dumber than your mark. Pride blinds people more than ignorance ever will. Everyone wants to feel smarter, sharper, more in control than the person across from them. The secret to power lies in feeding that illusion. When you appear less intelligent, less ambitious, even a little naive, you disarm the ego of others. They relax their guard, underestimate you, and in that moment of comfort, they expose themselves. The fool who plays the fool is often the most dangerous person in the room. To seem dumber than your mark is not to be weak. It is to be invisible. When people believe they have the upper hand, they show their cards. They speak freely, reveal plans, offer opportunities they would otherwise conceal. Their arrogance becomes your camouflage. The art is in pretending to need guidance, to act impressed, to let them bask in their own brilliance. All the while you observe, learn, and wait for the perfect moment to strike. This technique has outlived empires because it preys on a timeless flaw: vanity. Everyone craves superiority. The moment you appear too competent, too clever, too composed, you provoke insecurity. Pride turns admiration into rivalry, and rivalry into sabotage. But if you play the simpleton, if you make others feel wise, powerful, indispensable, they lower their defenses, and their ambition becomes your tool. In the courts of old, courtiers survived not by boasting, but by bowing. They let kings believe that every idea, every insight, every spark of genius came from the throne. The wise did not challenge. They flattered through humility. Yet behind that mask of obedience, they maneuvered like silent predators, rising while others fell victim to their own arrogance. History's greatest manipulators mastered this law. Socrates, one of the most intelligent minds in history, feigned ignorance to expose the foolishness of others. His Socratic irony turned arrogance into revelation. Con artists and negotiators use the same principle today. They let their targets believe they are the clever ones, that the idea, the deal, the victory belongs to them. The target feels triumphant right up until the moment they realize they were led exactly where you wanted them to go. The psychology is simple. People defend their intelligence fiercely, challenge it directly, and you meet resistance. Feed it, and you own it. When you appear harmless, people trust you. When you appear inferior, they pity you. When they pity you, they share too much. Let them teach you, correct you, guide you. Every word they offer in arrogance becomes a step in your quiet ascent. But this law demands discipline. Your act must be subtle. Too much foolishness, and you become a clown. Too little, and your threat resurfaces. The goal is not to convince the world you are stupid. It is to convince your mark that you pose no danger. Let them underestimate you by choice. The sweetest victory comes when they realize, too late, that the simpleton they mocked was orchestrating the game all along. So, play the sucker. Ask naive questions. Smile when they condescend. Let them feel they've won. Their laughter will echo while you collect the reward. For the greatest advantage in power is not to be the smartest person in the room. It's to let everyone else think they are.
Use the surrender tactic. Transform weakness into power.
There are moments in the pursuit of power when resistance is suicide. When the tide turns against you, when the enemy's strength outweighs yours, when the walls are closing in, fighting back only ensures your destruction. Pride whispers, never bow, but wisdom knows better. True power is not in constant defiance. It is in knowing when surrender is strategy. To yield is not to lose. It is to transform weakness into control. Surrender disarms. When you give in unexpectedly, you rob your opponent of their victory. Their aggression loses its rhythm because they were prepared for battle, not compliance. The act of yielding flips the dynamic. You, the defeated, suddenly become unpredictable. In that moment of surprise, the power balance shifts. You have chosen to bend, not break, and that choice unnerves the strong far more than resistance ever could. Think of surrender as psychological jujitsu. You use your opponent's force against them, letting their confidence overextend. When they believe they've won, they relax. They show you their true hand. They expose their vulnerabilities. You learn their rhythm while they underestimate yours. You become the quiet observer in a game they think is over, but you're simply waiting for your moment to rise again. History honors those who knew how to lose beautifully. When a smaller kingdom bowed to a conquering empire, it often survived. Its people spared, its leaders allowed to rule under new terms. But those who fought to the bitter end vanished completely. In politics, business, and relationships, the same law applies. A strategic retreat buys time, preserves dignity, and opens paths unseen in the heat of defiance. The one who knows when to yield never truly loses. Surrender is also a form of psychological mastery over the self. Most people crumble under humiliation because their ego bleeds at the slightest cut. But the person who can accept loss without breaking, who can smile in defeat, wields a deeper strength. That calm acceptance confuses the aggressor. They expect anger, tears, resistance, but instead, they see serenity. Nothing is more disturbing to an enemy than the person they cannot provoke. When you surrender, do it with grace. Let the other side believe they have won completely. Feed their ego, and they will become blind with satisfaction. They may even lower their guard enough to invite you back, unaware that you are rebuilding in silence. Patience, in this form, becomes the sharpest weapon. You can bide your time, watch their triumph rot into complacency, and strike when the moment is ripe. Surrender also buys clarity. When you stop fighting, you can finally see the full landscape, the players, the motives, the hidden currents. Conflict blinds, but surrender opens your eyes. By appearing defeated, you become invisible, and in invisibility, you regain freedom. The world stops seeing you as a threat, and in that shadow, you grow again. Power is not about constant dominance. It is about flow. Water conquers rock not by force, but by yielding and returning again and again. The same principle guides human mastery. To fight when weak is arrogance, to yield when outmatched is wisdom, and to turn that yielding into a silent rebirth, that is genius. Never mistake surrender for submission. One is a choice, the other a defeat. When you surrender on your own terms, you write the next chapter of the story, while your opponent is still celebrating the end. The art lies in knowing that losing a battle can be the most cunning way to win the war. Concentrate your forces. Power is a focused beam, not scattered sparkles. To scatter your attention, your resources, your loyalties across 100 small skirmishes is to invite dilution and defeat. Strength multiplies when it is gathered, when energy funnels into a single decisive point that breaks resistance like a battering ram. The secret of dominance is less about doing many things and more about making one thing unstoppable. Concentration converts modest means into overwhelming consequence. Diffusion turns abundance into impotence. Look at every triumph worth remembering, and you will find a single axis of effort, a committed hand that refused to be divided. Armies that spread thin across distant fronts are carved apart. Merchants who chase every market find themselves outcompeted. Leaders who borrow their attention for trivialities lose the war for what matters. There is a fierce beauty in obsessive focus. It steals plans, clarifies priorities, and creates momentum. Momentum makes the world bend. Scattered motion only makes noise. Concentration is tactical ruthlessness. It demands choosing which battles to fight and which to let die. It asks you to ignore glittering distractions, to refuse the flattering urgencies that promise little and cost everything. Few things are harder than saying no to opportunities, to compliments, to the temptations of immediate praise, yet the discipline to channel all your assets toward one strategic aim is the quiet alchemy that turns scarcity into dominance. This law is social as well as material. People, like resources, must be marshaled. A distributed team with no central purpose drifts. A compact cell, united by a single mission, becomes ferocious. Loyalty crystallizes when everyone senses a clear objective and feels the weight of collective will. The leader who concentrates forces makes decisions that others can follow without doubt, because clarity breeds confidence, and confidence breeds action. There is also the timing of concentration. Gather too soon and you reveal your intent before you have the weight to win. Gather too late and the window closes. The master strategist knows when to hold back and when to commit everything. when to strike with the full weight of accumulated advantage. The move must be sudden, overwhelming, and irreversible enough that opposition fractures under the shock. Concentration carries risk. If your single thrust fails, you lose everything. This is why focus must be paired with ruthless calculation and preparation. Build reserves, choose your point of impact where the enemy is weakest and your edge is sharpest. Convert small advantages into decisive ones by piling on force where it will hurt most. Let your opponents scatter their hopes across many fronts while you deliver the one blow that rewrites the map. In personal life, career, and war, the world rewards those who refuse to be diffuse. The person who becomes indispensable is not the one who does a little of everything, but the one who masters one thing so completely that they cannot be ignored. Concentrate your forces, pick the field, gather your strength, and strike with the certainty of a closed fist. The echo of such a strike changes the game. Everything else becomes background noise. Play the perfect courtier. Power is rarely seized. It is granted, whispered, and bestowed by those already holding it. To rise within such circles, one must master the art of pleasing without appearing to try, of influencing without commanding, of surviving in a world ruled by vanity, envy, and ego. The perfect courtier is not the loudest nor the strongest, but the most attuned. They read the room like scripture, bending gracefully to its moods, flattering without flattery, charming without deceit. Every glance, every pause, every carefully measured word becomes a move in a silent, endless game. The courtier's world still lives today. Offices, politics, social hierarchies, anywhere power gathers. It is a place where blunt honesty is suicide and raw ambition is treason. Here, survival depends not on force, but on elegance. The perfect courtier wields subtlety as others wield swords. They understand that people in power do not wish to be told the truth. They wish to be confirmed in their greatness. To disagree openly is to wound their pride. To mirror their brilliance is to win their favor. Flattery, when artful, is not lies. It is reflection. You show others what they most wish to see in themselves. The powerful hunger for admiration like starving wolves. Feed them just enough to keep them tamed. The secret is restraint. Too much praise smells of manipulation. Too little feels like insult. The perfect courtier gives admiration as perfume, light, alluring, and impossible to grasp. To thrive in the court is to master contrast. Be visible but never vulgar. Speak with confidence but never dominance. Know everything but reveal little. Your presence must feel necessary yet never threatening. The ones who shout for attention die by it. The ones who radiate quiet competence become indispensable. Make your words few and your timing impeccable. Every silence deliberate. Every compliment a seed planted in pride's fertile soil. Charm is the currency of influence. The perfect courtier moves through rooms like music, soft, captivating, leaving echoes behind. They never gossip, yet always know the secrets. They never offend, yet subtly weaken rivals by suggestion alone. They disguise ambition behind grace, turning each favor they grant into a debt owed, each kindness into quiet leverage. In the modern world, this art is no less vital. The employee who makes the boss feel brilliant will ascend faster than the one who simply works harder. The politician who flatters every ego in the room wins more allies than the one who preaches ideals. The social figure who listens, nods, and makes others feel admired holds the true power in every conversation. But the perfect courtier's strength lies not only in charm, it lies in control. They never reveal irritation, never show fatigue, never bleed where others can see. Emotion, in their world, is currency too precious to waste. They know when to laugh, when to empathize, when to disappear. Their restraint creates mystery. Their composure inspires awe. To play the perfect courtier is to dance with vanity and never trip. It is to smile through insult, to bend without breaking, to master the delicate tyranny of grace. It demands patience, awareness, and the ruthless elegance of a blade hidden beneath silk. For in the theater of power, the crown is never taken by force. It is handed to the one who makes the ruler believe it was their own idea. Recreate yourself. You are not bound by the story others tell about you. The most powerful people in history understood that identity is not discovered, it is designed. The world will try to define you, to box you in with labels, expectations, and memories of who you once were. But power demands transformation. To rise, you must become the author of your own image, shaping perception, rewriting your character, and mastering the art of reinvention. Recreating yourself is not deceit. It is evolution. It means shedding the skin of limitation and becoming someone new, someone untouchable. The weak cling to authenticity as if it were virtue, insisting, "This is who I am." But the strong know that identity is fluid, a mask that adapts to each moment. You do not have to remain who you were yesterday. You can burn that version and rise again, sharper, bolder, more compelling. The most magnetic figures, leaders, artists, visionaries, are those who live as living myths. They construct their image like sculptors, every detail intentional. Cleopatra crafted herself as a goddess reborn. Napoleon forged himself into destiny's child. David Bowie turned self-reinvention into an art form. Each transformation made them unpredictable, fascinating, larger than life. People do not follow reality. They follow the story that stirs emotion. To recreate yourself, you must first destroy comfort. Familiarity is the enemy of growth. As long as others can predict you, they can control you. When you shift shape, when you redefine your values, your appearance, your energy, you shatter their expectations. You remind them that you are not static, that you are capable of becoming anything. This unsettles them, fascinates them, makes them respect you. Power lives in that tension between who you were and who you are becoming. The psychology of transformation is rooted in perception. People respond not to your essence, but to the version of you they see. If that version grows dull, predictable, or too familiar, their attention drifts. To hold influence, you must constantly renew the image you project. Like an actor mastering roles, you must become a student of your own reinvention. Adjust your tone, your style, your symbols. Each change is a reminder that you are not to be defined, you are to be watched. But this power carries a warning. Never let your reinvention appear desperate. Change must feel deliberate, not reactionary. You are not running from your past. You are evolving beyond it. Those who reinvent from fear look unstable. Those who reinvent from strength appear divine. The world admires the one who commands transformation with intention, not apology. Recreation is rebellion against fate. It is refusing to be trapped by your history, your mistakes, or others' opinions. It is the courage to say, "I will not be who you think I am. I will become who I decide to be." Each reinvention is a death and a rebirth, a shedding of what no longer serves you. In a world that worships image, the ability to reinvent that image is ultimate freedom. Be the artist and the canvas, the actor and the script. Become your own myth. Let them think they know you, then change and make them chase your shadow. Because in the end, power does not belong to those who find themselves. It belongs to those who create themselves again and again until the world can no longer tell where reality ends and legend begins. Keep your hands clean. Power is rarely pure. Behind every throne, every success, every triumph lies a trail of chaos, manipulation, and sacrifice. Yet those who rise and stay risen are not the ones who commit the dirtiest acts themselves. They are the ones who make others do it for them. To keep your hands clean is not just about morality. It is about survival. The powerful must appear flawless, untouchable, above the stains of cruelty and ambition. even when they are the architects of both.
Human beings crave heroes, not villains. They will tolerate corruption if it wears a charming smile, forgive betrayal if it comes dressed in virtue. Appear innocent, and you control the story. Once your image is pure, people will explain away your sins for you. They will defend you against your own actions. But if you are seen with blood on your hands, the illusion of your greatness collapses. In power, perception is everything, and innocence is its most potent disguise.
To master this law, you must learn the art of distance. When a task requires ruthlessness, find a willing hand to execute it. When controversy brews, ensure someone else carries the blame. Let others bear the guilt, while you remain calm, untainted, and sympathetic. The fall guy, the scapegoat, the loyal subordinate, they exist to absorb the dirt that must never reach your image. The world may suspect your involvement, but suspicion is not proof. Appear shocked, appear saddened, appear betrayed, never appear responsible. History's great players understood this perfectly. Monarchs ordered assassinations through unknown agents. CEOs let subordinates take the fall for disastrous decisions. Politicians leak their own scandals through intermediaries, then rise again as victims of conspiracy. The hands that steer power remain clean because the filth has been outsourced. This is not cowardice, it is craft. Power is about control, not confession. Yet this law extends beyond strategy. It is psychological. The ability to keep your hands clean demands discipline, the mastery of emotion, ego, and impulse. You must resist the urge to prove your dominance through direct action. The more visible your control, the more traceable your guilt. Influence must flow like shadow, present everywhere, seen nowhere. The puppet master never touches the strings in public, but there is danger here too. Use others too carelessly, and they may turn on you. No scapegoat stays loyal forever. Therefore, keep them rewarded, respected, or afraid. Feed their ambition enough that they believe their role serves their own interests. The perfect accomplice is one who thinks they act freely, unaware they are fulfilling your will. Keeping your hands clean also means shielding yourself from scandalous emotion. Rage, jealousy, and open manipulation are stains just as damning as deceit. The powerful remain calm while chaos erupts around them. Their composure becomes their halo. The more destruction occurs in their orbit, the more saintly they appear in contrast. In the modern world, this law is even sharper. Cameras record, voices echo, reputations rise and fall in seconds. The appearance of guilt can ruin faster than guilt itself. So, maintain distance from your own dirt. Let deniability be your armor, your silence, your protection. People will always need someone to blame. Make sure that someone is never you. To keep your hands clean is not to avoid sin, but to elevate above it. Let others dig in the mud while you stand spotless, serene, almost divine. The powerful do not escape corruption. They transcend it, hidden behind layers of innocence and grace. Remember, guilt is heavy, but image is everything. Stay untarnished, and the world will forgive even what it suspects. Play on people's need to believe to create a cult-like following. Humans are born with a hunger for meaning, an ache that facts alone cannot soothe. In that hunger lies enormous leverage. When you offer a story that fills emptiness, a ritual that simplifies chaos, or a promise that sanctifies suffering, people bend toward you with the devotion of the lost finding land. This law is not about lies for their own sake. It is the architecture of faith, the shaping of urgent narratives that make strangers exchange independence for belonging. Those who master it do not merely persuade, they convert longing into loyalty so deep it sustains movements, careers, and empires. Belief is a currency more valuable than logic. Facts educate, myth mobilizes. Give people a narrative in which they are chosen, redeemed, or elevated, and they will follow you through scandal, failure, and absence. Rituals anchor them, small, repeatable acts that tether identity to your voice. Symbols seal the pact, a saying, a gesture, a crucible of shared suffering that becomes a badge. In time, followers stop asking questions because their identity is woven through your promises. Doubt becomes not an error, but a betrayal, and betrayal must be punished, first by exile, then by silence. You have not coerced them, you have given them a home. They stay because leaving would mean losing themselves. This is why leaders who understand belief often outlast superior armies or clearer evidence. A disciplined chorus of believers will defend you against logic with the ferocity of kinship. They will rewrite reality to fit the story you provided. Critics become enemies. Critics' arguments are not counterpoints, but existential threats. The psychology is simple and terrible. When a person's identity and meaning are bound to an idea, that idea is defended as if it were the defender's own life. Creating such devotion requires skillful generosity and theatrical control. Offer emotional experiences more than cold facts. Manufacture small victories. Narrate them as destiny and reward participation with recognition. Public rituals turn private feeling into communal obligation. Let your language be repetitive and sacred sounding. Repetition cures doubt. Let your inner circle embody purity and scarcity. The rarer the fellowship appears, the greater the hunger to belong. People fill vacuums of meaning with anything that makes them feel significant. Give them significance, and they will give you obedience. But there is danger. Movements can mutate. Once birthed, belief can profit from its own momentum and turn against its originator. Devotees may demand more myth, more certainty, and that pressure can freeze leaders into dogma. The smart operator monitors faith like a gardener, pruning a vine, nurturing, shaping, never letting it strangle the root. Maintain a balance between charisma and control. Reward faith visibly, punish dissent subtly, and keep the promised future just beyond the horizon so the journey never ends. To wield belief is to touch the deepest, most sacred places in people, their fears, their dreams, their need to belong. Used with care, it builds movements and loyalty. Used recklessly, it creates fanaticism and ruin. Either way, understand this. When you supply meaning, you hold the keys to devotion, and devotion bends the world in ways reason never could. Enter action with boldness. Hesitation is the death of power. The world belongs not to the cautious, but to the decisive, to those who move first, speak loudest, and act as if failure were impossible. Boldness ignites belief. It bends reality to its will. When you enter action with boldness, you command attention before results even exist. People do not follow the hesitant. They follow certainty, even when it's an illusion. The timid wait for clarity, but the bold create it. Every hesitation leaks energy. Doubt infects others before a word is spoken. The uncertain tone, the delayed decision, the cautious glance, all whisper weakness, and weakness invites predators. The bold, on the other hand, radiate an intoxicating aura of inevitability. Their confidence overrides logic. Their motion erases resistance. Even when wrong, they move with such conviction that others reshape reality to fit their version of truth. Boldness is more than aggression. It's psychological warfare. When you move swiftly and decisively, you throw others off balance. They freeze, calculating, while you act. In that pause, their power dissolves. The human mind is wired to defer to authority, and nothing signals authority like certainty. A single bold gesture can silence critics, rally followers, and intimidate rivals before the first battle is even fought. History crowns the bold. Caesar crossed the Rubicon, knowing hesitation meant obscurity. Napoleon attacked when others deliberated. Entrepreneurs, artists, and revolutionaries who changed the world were rarely the smartest, but always the boldest. They acted before permission, before proof, before safety. They understood that audacity is a language power respects. Boldness also magnetizes fortune. Opportunities reveal themselves to those already moving. Life responds to motion with momentum. Doors open for those who have the courage to knock hard enough. Even failure, when pursued boldly, earns respect. The timid fail quietly and are forgotten. The bold fail loudly and are remembered. And from that memory, they rise again. But boldness must be pure. It cannot be reckless or desperate. True boldness comes from inner conviction, from preparation hidden beneath confidence. It is the calm fury of someone who knows their value and refuses to beg for recognition. Recklessness shouts, boldness commands. Recklessness destroys, boldness conquers. In every arena, business, politics, love, boldness creates gravity. Speak with assurance, and people believe you. Act without hesitation, and they assume you know something they don't. Walk into a room like you own it, and half the battle is already won. The bold do not wait for conditions to be perfect. They make imperfect conditions bend to them. There is a strange magic to audacity. Once you commit fully, the world rearranges itself around your energy. Allies appear, obstacles retreat, momentum builds. The timid never experience this because they never give themselves fully to action. They dip their toes while the bold dive headfirst. Power rewards the one who risks drowning. Boldness is not loudness, it is clarity. It is the quiet certainty that you will not retreat. It is standing so firmly in your purpose that others must move around you. So when the moment comes, do not hesitate. Do not ask for permission. Step forward with the force of conviction and let fear follow behind you. The world bows to the one who acts as if it already belongs to them. Plan all the way to the end. Power is never the product of chance. It is the result of foresight. The most dangerous mistake in any pursuit is to move without vision, to act only for the moment. Those who rush ahead without a destination become prisoners of circumstance. But those who plan all the way to the end hold the map to victory before the game even begins. Every move they make, every word they speak, every alliance they form serves a purpose already decided long ago. To plan to the end is to see beyond the fog of emotion and impulse. Most people react. They live in the chaos of the present, guided by fear, pride, or excitement. They chase what feels urgent instead of what is essential. But emotion is a poor compass. The powerful, by contrast, move with calm precision. They envision the conclusion first, then trace their way backwards step by step until the path is clear. Every obstacle, betrayal, or temptation becomes merely a detail in a larger design. When you plan to the end, you strip luck of its power over you. The unpredictable becomes manageable because you've already imagined its arrival. Even disaster loses its sting when it has a place in your blueprint. The planner bends chaos into order by anticipating it. Those without plans panic when things go wrong. Those who see the end from the start adapt without fear because they have already rehearsed survival in their minds. Think of generals before battle, entrepreneurs before empire, or lovers before conquest. The visionaries who could see the finish line before the first step. They are not magicians. They are architects of time. Napoleon saw entire campaigns in his mind before his soldiers took a single step. Da Vinci saw his inventions in motion before metal ever met hand. The power of foresight is the power to control destiny. But the greatest strength of planning lies not only in vision, it lies in restraint. When you know your end game, you do not waste energy on distractions. The small victories, the flattery, the sudden temptations that lead others astray cannot seduce you. You remain centered, unshaken, because you understand that every moment is merely a move towards something greater. Planning gives you patience, and patience breeds mastery. Yet the end itself must be chosen wisely. To plan without purpose is to build castles on sand. Ask yourself what your true desire is, not the one your ego craves, but the one that fulfills your design. Fame fades, wealth slips away, but legacy endures. The most brilliant planners aim for something beyond applause, permanence.
Beware, too, of those who think only of beginnings. They rush into ventures, relationships, and conflicts with enthusiasm but no exit. Their energy burns bright and dies quickly, leaving behind ashes of regret. Without an ending in mind, even success becomes chaos. The same fire that builds can also destroy if it burns without direction. Planning all the way to the end does not mean controlling every detail. It means understanding every outcome. You must be able to see the best and the worst that can happen, to be prepared for both, and to use either to your advantage. Life will always twist and shift, but a plan gives you gravity. It keeps you from drifting with the current. The one who sees the end holds the power of time itself. Others are trapped in moments. You command the story. When your opponents react, you are already 10 moves ahead. When they think they've caught you off guard, they are already inside your design. Because the one who plans to the end never truly loses. They simply reach a different conclusion they already foresaw. Make your accomplishments seem effortless. Power loses its enchantment the moment it looks labored. People admire grace, not struggle. They are drawn to those who appear to succeed without strain, as if greatness flows naturally through them. The secret to commanding admiration, envy, and awe is not just in what you achieve, but in how easily you appear to achieve it. Effort is common. Effortlessness is divine. The world worships talent, but resents toil. When others see how hard you try, they see your limits. They see the sweat, the desperation, the cracks in your confidence. But when your success looks smooth, unforced, inevitable, they believe you are born different. And once they believe that, they surrender admiration willingly. The illusion of natural mastery is more powerful than skill itself. This law is a game of perception. You must learn to hide the hours of practice, the failures, the exhaustion behind the curtain. Let the world see only the final act, the moment of perfection. Every great artist, strategist, and leader bleeds in private, rehearses endlessly, obsesses silently, but when the spotlight turns on, they smile with calm control. That calm is the mask of power. The audience should never see the chaos that built the masterpiece. In courtly times, kings and courtiers mastered sprezzatura, the art of doing difficult things with an air of ease. A perfect gesture, a clever phrase, a graceful solution delivered without visible effort was worth more than any display of strain. To seem effortless was to seem born to rule. Today, the same law applies. The CEO who handles crises with composure, the athlete who makes the impossible look simple, the artist who produces brilliance as if breathing, all command more respect than the visibly grinding competitor. This illusion of ease serves another purpose. It conceals your methods. When people believe you are naturally gifted, they stop looking for your secrets. They can't imitate what they think is innate. Your mystery becomes your moat. By hiding your effort, you protect your power from being understood, and therefore from being replicated. But to appear effortless, you must first master discipline. The appearance of ease comes only from absolute control of your craft, your emotions, your image. You must train until excellence becomes instinct, until you can perform under pressure without breaking your rhythm. Then, when the moment arrives, you let the world see only your poise, not your process. Be wary, though, of vanity. The point is not to flaunt ease, but to embody it. Boasting about how little you work or how easily success comes invites resentment. The powerful do not brag, they simply are. They let silence do their boasting and mystery do their marketing. Even in failure, maintain composure. A stumble, handled gracefully, appears intentional. A loss, accepted calmly, looks like strategy. People judge not the outcome, but the energy behind it. The one who panics exposes weakness. The one who smiles through chaos becomes untouchable. Let your accomplishments look like accidents of genius, not the product of obsession. Hide the machinery that makes your world run. Let others imagine that fate favors you.
that you were born under a luckier star. The truth that you built your grace through blood and endurance remains your secret weapon, because the moment your effort becomes visible, your magic dies. Power lives in mystique, and mystique is born from ease. So sweat in silence, labor in darkness, and when the time comes to shine, step into the light as if you were always meant to be there. Flawless, calm, untouchable. Control the options. Get others to play with the cards you deal. Power lives in the framing of choice. Give someone freedom to choose, and they feel empowered. Give them only the choices you design, and you have already steered the outcome. Mastery is not a matter of crushing will, but of shaping the field so skillfully that every apparent decision funnels into the result you desire. When others believe they are choosing, they commit, defend, and justify the path you secretly carve for them. This is the subtle alchemy. Make consent look like autonomy, and you win without force. The mind rebels at blunt coercion, but embraces guided agency. People prefer the illusion of control to overt command. It flatters their ego and reduces resistance. So you do not present one edict, you present 2 or 3 plausible routes, each leading to your objective. Let them weigh, debate, and decide among your options while you watch them seal their own fate with enthusiasm. The brilliant manipulator understands that the heart of consent is not the absence of constraint, but the presence of choice, so long as the choices are your architecture. Think of politicians who frame debates not with a single demand, but with competing alternatives that all preserve the same core power. Think of a dealer at a table offering different hands that all advantage the house. The person who dictates the parameters of a decision gains the invisible leverage. The argument becomes about preference, not necessity. People will defend their selected option as if it were a moral stand, even when every option was designed to serve someone else's end. You turn consent into complicity. Control the options also means screening the battlefield. Remove extreme possibilities that could derail you. Highlight moderate, acceptable paths that corral the crowd. Offer choices that flatter identities. Let the moralist pick the option that looks upright. Let the practical choose the option that looks efficient, while both roads feed your strategy. Give them language to praise the choice. They will use it to justify you to themselves and others. A decision defended by pride is a decision that will not be easily undone. This law demands psychological insight. Know what each person values, fears, and needs. Craft options that appear to satisfy those longings while steering outcomes. Use timing to make the best choice seem urgent and obvious. If you cannot close a deal with reason, make the alternatives socially costly. Frame dissent as eccentricity or disloyalty. Social pressure seals choices more reliably than argument. People fear standing alone. Arrange the options so the safest, most popular-looking choice also benefits you most. There is art here, not cruelty. Clumsily offered choices breed suspicion. When people sense manipulation, they rebel. The trick is elegance. Options that feel natural, fair, and even generous. Present them too obviously, and you become the puppeteer. Present them with the right cadence, the right words, and they will sign the contract of their own volition. Let them believe they are victorious, and they will carry your victory like a banner of their own making. Power built on shaped choices is durable because it is internalized. Those who choose your pathway will defend it long after you are gone, because their identity is now bound to the selection. You will not need to continue forcing compliance. They will manufacture it for you. This is the quiet tyranny of clever design. People act freely, speak loudly in favor of your outcome, and unknowingly fortify the very system that guides them. To control the options is to become the dealer of fate, the architect of apparent freedom. When you master this, resistance dissolves into negotiation, and negotiation ends where you planned. Let them pick.
Their hands will do your work, their voices will rationalize the result, and your power will move as if by consensus, when in truth, it was always yours. Play to people's fantasies. Reality is heavy. It binds, disappoints, and limits. Most people spend their lives trying to escape it, grasping for dreams that promise more beauty, power, or meaning than the world ever delivers. The powerful understand this truth and wield it like a spell. To win hearts, influence minds, and control crowds, you must speak not to reason, but to desire. Play to people's fantasies, and they will follow you willingly, even blindly, because fantasy is the one currency stronger than truth. Human beings crave illusion more than honesty. They do not want the world as it is. They want the world as it could be. They want to believe in effortless success, in eternal love, in destiny, in escape. Give them a story that lets them dream, and they will hand you their loyalty, their money, even their soul. Destroy their illusion, and they will hate you for reminding them of their limits. Those who speak hard truths often die unheard. Those who spin beautiful lies are worshipped. Kings, prophets, lovers, and leaders have always known this. The court magician, the visionary, the seducer, they all thrive on fantasy. The con artist sells people not the object, but the feeling it represents. The revolutionary promises not struggle, but paradise. Even religions, nations, and corporations are built on stories, dreams woven so tightly that they feel like destiny. The truth is often too plain to inspire. Fantasy moves armies. To master this law, you must learn to see what people hunger for most. Look beneath their words. What do they ache to believe? Some crave salvation, others adventure, others validation or immortality. Shape your message around that longing. Let your actions, your image, your words shimmer with the promise of the unreal made possible. The fantasy must never feel fake. It must feel like a door to something just beyond reach. This law is not about deceit. It is about understanding human nature. People are rarely motivated by facts. They are moved by feeling. When you appeal to fantasy, you bypass logic and speak directly to the emotional core. You become the dream giver, the visionary, the escape from mediocrity. And when people see you as the vessel of their longing, they will protect you, exalt you, and obey you, not because you force them, but because you represent what they cannot live without. Hope! Yet there is danger in this art. If the illusion breaks too soon, if the fantasy fades before it fulfills, adoration turns to rage. People cannot forgive those who awaken them from their dreams. The same crowd that once worshipped will turn to destroy the idol that failed to deliver. That is why the powerful maintain illusion through performance, refreshing it, adapting it, feeding it just enough reality to keep it alive. In a world starving for magic, the one who offers it controls the hearts of men. Speak not of what is true, but of what feels true. Promise what others are too afraid to imagine. Wrap your ambitions in beauty, your power in dreams. Let others be trapped by the weight of the real. You will rise above it by mastering the one force stronger than truth, the fantasy that people need to believe. Discover each man's thumbscrew. There is a secret hinge on every human heart, a tiny hidden pressure point that, when pressed, bends wills, loosens tongues, and breaks resistance. To discover a man's thumbscrew is to learn the private geography of his needs, fears, vanities, and resentments. It is an act of study as intimate as reading a lover's skin and as surgical as a surgeon's incision. Those who master this law do not coerce with blunt force. They move with a surgeon's finesse, applying pressure exactly where it will yield the most, with the least visible effort. People parade their strengths in public and bury their soft spots in silence. The world sees the armor, the powerful sense the seam. To find that seam, you must be patient and curious, a quiet predator who listens more than speaks, who watches the twitch in the eye when a certain name is spoken, who notices the stubbornness that blooms from an old wound, Everyone leaks information, a joke repeated too often, a touchy subject hastily changed, a story told with trembling pride. These are the breadcrumbs to the thumbscrew. Follow them without haste, and you will find the leverage that no argument can match. There is a moral chill to this truth. The same question that can win forgiveness, do you remember what you sacrificed, can also be used to reopen a scar. The difference lies in intention. The expert reads wounds not to destroy, but to predict, to shape outcomes by knowing how strongly someone will recoil or surrender. The critic who knows a rival's hidden fear can steer them into panic. The negotiator who knows a partner's yearning can craft an offer that seduces rather than coerces. In every case, power grows from precision, not violence. History is full of those who found the thumbscrew and turned it into empire. A statesman whispers of honor to the insecure general and watches him march where he wishes. A lover flatters an old desire and finds intimacy where none existed before. Even in commerce, there's the salesman who exposes a buyer's unspoken need, status, belonging, fear of scarcity, sells not a product, but the cure to a private ache. To know what people will pay for is to know where their thumbscrew lies. The psychology is mercilessly simple. Humans act to avoid pain and to win validation. Thumbscrews are born from childhood debts, from bruised egos, from secrets kept under lock and shame. They are the hidden currencies of power: jealousy, ambition, guilt, longing. Find the currency and you can buy action. But remember, leverage is a double-edged coin. Expose someone's weakness and you own their future. Misuse it and you create an enemy whose revenge is patient and cold. The wise wield the thumbscrew like a scalpel, precise, necessary, and never given to spectacle. To discover a thumbscrew, you must cultivate empathy that is not kind but clinical. Ask questions that seem casual but are probes in disguise. Watch what people defend fiercely. Observe who they forgive and who they cannot bear to disappoint. Silence reveals as much as speech. Notice what they avoid, the topics that make a smile falter. Collect these small rebellions of the heart and assemble them into a map. When the moment comes, press gently, with offers or threats shaped to match the pressure you apply. The result will be movement, so smooth it feels inevitable. Power built this way is quiet and intimate. It is not won by loud proclamations, but by knowing the invisible cords that control others and learning which one to pull. To discover a man's thumbscrew is to become the composer of his decisions, subtle, invisible, and utterly effective. Be royal in your own fashion. Act like a king to be treated like one. Power begins in the mind. Before anyone crowns you, you must crown yourself. The way you carry your presence, the quiet authority in your voice, the self-belief in your movements, the unshakable certainty in your worth, teaches the world how to treat you. If you act like you deserve respect, you will command it. But if you carry yourself like a servant, begging for approval, you invite only contempt. Appear royal, even before you are, and soon reality will bow to your conviction. People are drawn to confidence like moths to flame. They can sense the invisible aura of someone who moves through life as though destiny is their companion. The powerful do not ask for validation, they expect it. They don't chase opportunity, they attract it. That magnetic self-assurance bends perception. When you believe yourself worthy of the throne, others begin to see the crown, even when it's not there. This law is not about arrogance, it is about self-command. The true king or queen doesn't shout to prove power. They radiate calm certainty. Their composure in chaos becomes a language of dominance. When others panic, they remain poised. When insulted, they smile. When challenged, they respond as if the outcome has already been decided in their favor. That poise unsettles those who seek to undermine them, for nothing is more intimidating than someone who cannot be shaken. Think of history's rulers, artists, and visionaries who became larger than life,
not through title, but through bearing. Cleopatra turned her presence into majesty long before Rome recognized her as a queen. Napoleon's soldiers followed him not because of birthright, but because he believed he was destined to rule. In every age, those who wore confidence as armor rose above those who waited to be chosen. Acting royal means setting your own standard. You decide what is beneath you, not out of snobbery, but out of self-respect. You choose dignity over desperation, quality over quantity, purpose over approval. You refuse to explain yourself to those who misunderstand your value. This quiet pride draws admiration and irritation in equal measure, but both are signs of power. The moment people talk about your confidence, they acknowledge your presence. There is also a subtle psychology at work. People take their cues from how you treat yourself. If you move as though your time is precious, they will not waste it. If you speak as though your words matter, they will listen. If you appear comfortable in your own importance, they will adapt their behavior to fit your gravity. You teach others your worth by embodying it without apology. However, beware the trap of imitation. Do not mimic another's grandeur. It will look hollow. Royalty is not costume, it is conviction. Your version of power must be authentic to you. Whether your style is quiet and mysterious or bold and radiant, wear it as your truth. The moment you pretend, your mask will slip. True kings and queens never perform. They exist. To act like royalty is also to accept solitude. The crown is heavy, and those who wear it walk apart. Many will admire you, some will resent you, few will truly understand you. But that isolation is the price of elevation. Do not shrink from it, embrace it. For in standing tall when others bow, you give them someone to look up to. Carry yourself with the dignity of one who answers to no one's definition but their own. Speak less, move deliberately, expect greatness from yourself and others. The world mirrors back the energy you project. Walk as though the ground honors your steps, and the universe will eventually agree. Power begins not with a crown, but with the belief that you were always meant to wear one. Master the art of timing. Power is not only about what you do, it is about when you do it. Every action, no matter how brilliant, can crumble if mistimed. The world moves in rhythms. Opportunity, emotion, and perception all rise and fall like tides. The one who masters timing does not fight these tides. They ride them. They know when to advance and when to wait, when silence will echo louder than speech, and when a single move can reshape the entire game. Impatience is the enemy of mastery. The weak rush in, desperate for progress, mistaking movement for momentum. They strike too soon, revealing their intentions before the moment is ripe. The powerful, however, wait. Their stillness is not passivity, it is precision. They sense the pulse beneath chaos, the quiet opening that others overlook. Their timing feels supernatural because they move only when success is inevitable. Timing is emotional control disguised as strategy. To wait when every nerve screams to act, to hold your words when silence burns, that is strength few possess. The impatient seek validation, the master seeks victory. The difference lies in the ability to delay gratification until the world bends into alignment. The hunter who fires too early loses the prey. The one who waits until the beast steps fully into the clearing never misses. In every realm of power, timing separates the remembered from the forgotten. The great generals do not fight every battle. They wait for the moment when the enemy is weary and morale has cracked. The great seducer does not pursue constantly. They disappear, creating absence that sharpens desire. The wise ruler does not announce their will in haste. They let tension build until their words fall like thunder, impossible to ignore. The art of timing demands awareness. You must read people as if they were seasons. Know when they are open, when they are closed, when they are restless for change. Watch faces, listen to silences, study patterns. The world always whispers before it shifts. Those who are too loud, too fast, too certain miss the subtle tremors that signal the right moment to act. But timing is also about the illusion of control. Sometimes you cannot wait for the perfect moment, you must create it. The appearance of timing can be as powerful as timing itself. When you act decisively in chaos, people assume you saw something they didn't. Your confidence creates its own sense of destiny. Even coincidence, framed with conviction, feels like prophecy. Patience, then, is not idleness, it is weaponized awareness. Each second you hold back, you gather more information, more leverage, more force. And when you finally move, it feels inevitable, unstoppable, divine. The impatient burn themselves out, chasing moments that aren't ready. The patient light the world with a single spark at the perfect instant. To master the art of timing is to bend time itself, to make delay look like strategy and arrival feel like fate. The world rewards not those who run fastest, but those who strike precisely when the world can no longer resist. Disdain things you cannot have. Ignoring them is the best revenge. Desire is a leash. Whoever controls what you want controls you. The moment you covet something you cannot have, you hand over power. You reveal weakness. You expose your hunger, and hunger makes you predictable. The powerful know that obsession, envy, and frustration are forms of submission. To disdain what eludes you is to remain sovereign over your emotions and unshaken by denial. Indifference is not emptiness, it is armor. Nothing wounds pride more deeply than being ignored. When you show that you do not care, that you will not chase, that your peace remains untouched by loss, you inflict a wound far greater than anger ever could. Rage still acknowledges importance. Silence erases it. To ignore what was meant to humiliate you is to rob your enemy of their victory. Indifference freezes them in place, forcing them to confront the fact that they do not matter to you. The world feeds on reaction. It thrives on competition, jealousy, and the endless dance of wanting what others have. This is how people are manipulated, by dangling what cannot be reached. When you refuse to participate, the illusion collapses. You become ungovernable, untouchable, dangerous. The moment you stop wanting, the world loses its grip on you. This law is not about apathy, it is about control. To feel desire and choose not to show it, to feel pain and offer no response, that is mastery. It is emotional discipline disguised as calm. The powerful do not chase what runs, nor do they beg what has turned away. They understand that attention is currency, and withholding it is the sharpest revenge. Your silence, your absence, your composure, these are punishments the world cannot bear. History honors those who turned rejection into detachment. Think of emperors who dismissed traitors with a single wave, lovers who walked away without a word, rivals who refused to acknowledge defeat. Their restraint became legend because it unnerved those who expected retaliation. When people cannot read your reaction, they invent one, and in their uncertainty, they lose control. Desire is natural, but it must never be visible. Craving invites manipulation. The moment others see what you want, they will use it against you. Hide your longings behind indifference, and suddenly they crave your composure. Indifference breeds mystery. Mystery breeds power. The less you show that you need, the more others seek your approval, your presence, your attention, because it feels scarce, and scarcity creates value. To disdain what you cannot have is also liberation. It frees your energy from resentment, your mind from fixation, your heart from poison. Every minute spent envying or chasing is a minute lost to your own growth. When you redirect that energy inward, toward building, learning, ascending, you become unstoppable. The things once out of reach start gravitating toward you, drawn by the magnetism of your self-sufficiency. Never beg the world for what it withholds. Let the denied opportunity, the lost love, the unattainable prize fade into irrelevance. Smile at what you cannot possess. It is beneath you. The universe bends to those who do not kneel for scraps.
The greatest revenge is not to destroy your rival or win the unattainable. It is to live as though you never needed them at all. Create compelling spectacles. Power is not only seen, it is felt. People are drawn not to reason, but to sensation, to what dazzles, shocks, or stirs their imagination. Words can be doubted, arguments forgotten, but a spectacle burns itself into memory. The powerful understand that the world is a stage, and perception is the only reality that matters. To rule the eyes is to rule the mind. Spectacle is the weapon of kings, prophets, and modern icons alike. It transforms ordinary moments into myth. A single dramatic gesture, a ritual, a symbol, or a visual act can speak louder than 1,000 explanations. Crowds do not crave logic. They crave theater. Give them something to watch, something to feel, and they will follow you without question. The art of power is not persuasion, it is enchantment. Throughout history, the greatest leaders understood this instinctively. Julius Caesar returned from war in golden armor, parading through Rome as if he were divine. Louis XIV turned his life into performance, his every movement a ritual of majesty that left courtiers breathless. Even modern figures, politicians, celebrities, revolutionaries, build their authority through spectacle. They stage their moments carefully. The raised fist, the symbolic speech, the cinematic silence. It isn't manipulation, it's mastery of human psychology. People live in a fog of monotony. Their daily lives are filled with noise and grayness. When someone appears who can pierce that fog with light, through confidence, mystery, or grandeur, they become magnetic. The spectacle does not merely entertain, it awakens something primal, a hunger to belong to something larger than the self. That is why followers worship symbols more than they understand them. The secret is not extravagance, but intention. A spectacle must mean something. It must embody power, not parody it. An empty show fades. A symbolic one transforms perception. When Napoleon crowned himself emperor, he broke tradition, defying the Pope's authority before the eyes of Europe. That one moment of theater spoke more loudly than any decree. I am power itself. His act was not vanity, it was myth-making. You too can wield this law, no matter your arena. In work, life, or love, create moments that people cannot forget. Dress not for vanity, but symbolism. Speak not often, but when you do, make it echo. Control lighting, timing, presence. Make every action feel deliberate, inevitable, larger than the ordinary. When people sense that aura, they stop questioning. They start believing. But beware, to overuse spectacle is to cheapen it. If everything is dramatic, nothing is divine. The true master uses spectacle like thunder, a sudden flash that shakes the air, then silence that leaves awe in its wake. Surprise is what gives spectacle its power. Mystery is what keeps it alive. Understand this truth. Humans are emotional creatures, wrapped in reason's disguise. They think they seek truth, but what they truly crave is wonder. Give them wonder, and you own their eyes. Own their eyes, and you own their hearts. Power does not whisper, it performs, and the one who controls the stage controls the story the world chooses to believe. Think as you like, but behave like others. Freedom of thought is the greatest power a person can possess, but to wield it effectively, it must remain invisible. The world fears difference. It punishes those who display it too openly. The masses are governed not by reason, but by comfort, and nothing threatens comfort more than someone who refuses to fit in. To survive, to rise, to influence, you must learn the art of blending in while your mind roams free. Outward conformity is your disguise. Inward independence is your weapon. Those who expose their defiance too soon invite isolation and attack. The crowd sees rebellion not as courage, but as arrogance. When you challenge their norms publicly, they unite against you, not out of logic, but out of instinct.
People want to believe the world is stable, familiar, safe. When you think differently, you become a mirror that reflects their smallness, and they will shatter it rather than face themselves. So you must learn to wear the mask. Smile when expected, nod when required. Blend into the pattern while secretly redesigning it in your mind. This is not hypocrisy, it is strategy. The wisest minds in history understood this duality. Galileo recanted before the church to save his life, but his ideas outlived his silence. Niccolo Machiavelli served tyrants while secretly writing the handbook for their undoing. Even great revolutionaries knew the value of patience. They behaved like loyal citizens until the right moment to strike arrived. They hid their fire behind a calm expression, letting the world think them harmless until it was too late to stop them. Conformity is camouflage. It gives you access to spaces where rebellion would be exiled. When you appear ordinary, no one guards themselves against you. You hear their secrets, witness their weaknesses, and gather the intelligence that the loud and defiant never get close enough to learn. The fool shouts his truth and gets silence. The wise whisper it to himself until it grows too powerful to be denied. Even in modern life, this law rules quietly. The employee who masks their ambition until the right opportunity appears. The visionary who moves unnoticed in a sea of mediocrity, studying, waiting, plotting their moment. The artist who pretends to follow the trend while secretly shaping the next one. This balance between inner rebellion and outer grace separates those who burn out from those who ascend. Understand this. Power is built not by defiance, but by control. The person who can restrain their truth until the world is ready for it holds infinite advantage. Outwardly, you play by the rules. Inwardly, you rewrite them. You become the invisible architect, the one who understands the system deeply enough to bend it from within. But beware of losing yourself in the act. Pretending can become a prison if you forget your purpose. The mask must serve your mind, not replace it. Let your behavior be diplomacy, not surrender. You are not submitting, you are strategizing. Every nod, every smile, every act of imitation is a step toward your private revolution. To think freely is dangerous. To behave freely is fatal. But to appear ordinary while harboring extraordinary vision, that is mastery. The crowd will embrace you as one of their own, never realizing that beneath your calm exterior, a storm of brilliance is gathering. And when the moment comes, you will rise from among them, untouched and unstoppable, proving that the greatest minds are those that learn to hide in plain sight. Stir up waters to catch fish. Calm waters hide truth. Beneath stillness, people guard their thoughts, their motives, their weaknesses. But when you stir the surface, when you create chaos, tension, and confusion, their masks slip. Emotion is the great revealer, and those who cannot control it become exposed. The master of power understands this. Serenity may be beautiful, but turbulence is useful. To catch fish, you must first disturb the waters. Human beings like to believe they are rational, but emotion governs them far more than logic ever could. Anger makes them careless. Fear makes them compliant. Pride makes them blind. When you provoke emotion in others, you seize control of their behavior without ever giving a direct command. They act, but not from choice. They act from reaction. That is power, not forcing movement, but causing it. The powerful remain calm while others lose composure. The moment you anger, you surrender control. Rage clouds judgment, and when you lash out, you reveal your hand. But when you can stay serene while stirring others into frenzy, you become the puppet master behind the curtain. Let them thrash and shout while you remain still, watching, calculating, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Conflict, used wisely, is a weapon. The world's greatest leaders, generals, and manipulators have always known this. When situations grow stagnant, when rivals grow comfortable, shake the ground beneath them, spread a rumor, create doubt, force them to act. Their panic will reveal alliances, betray secrets, and fracture their confidence. When everyone around you is reacting, you become the only constant, the eye in their storm. In personal battles, this law is even sharper. The calm opponent is impossible to read, but the one you anger gives you everything: tone, timing, motive, weakness. A single emotional outburst can unravel years of careful disguise. Push them just enough, mock their pride, challenge their certainty, ignore their authority, and soon their words will betray what they most fear to lose. But the true art lies in subtlety. Stir the waters without appearing to do so. Let your provocation seem accidental, your silence seem innocent. Ask a question that cuts too deep. Offer a compliment that sounds like a slight. Introduce a delay that breeds frustration. Watch as emotions ripple outward, touching everyone around you. Then, when the waters are dark and murky, cast your line. You will find the truth waiting beneath. Emotion is the enemy of reason, yet the engine of movement. Those who rule emotion rule people. When others are calm, you cannot move them. When they are stirred, they can be led. And when they are raging, they destroy themselves. Let others believe chaos is a storm that must be endured. You will know it is an ocean to be fished. Never let your own calm break. The one who stirs the water must never fall into it. Stay composed as others drown in their reactions. Their anger blinds them, their fear exposes them, and their chaos clears the way for your control. In a world where everyone fights for calm, be the storm and the fisherman waiting beneath it. Despise the free lunch. Nothing in this world is truly free. Every gift conceals a hook. Every favor carries a hidden cost, and every hand that offers something for nothing is reaching for a piece of your freedom. Power dies the moment you accept dependency. The one who feeds you owns you, subtly, quietly, completely. To despise the free lunch is not greed, it is self-respect. It is the understanding that what is earned through effort strengthens you, while what is handed to you weakens your will and binds you in invisible chains. The lure of the free lunch is ancient and deadly. It tempts the lazy, the desperate, and the arrogant alike. It whispers of shortcuts, of ease, of reward without labor. But beneath the sweetness lies decay. Those who accept something for nothing become indebted to the giver's generosity. Gratitude turns into obligation, and obligation becomes control. The giver smiles, but their gift is bait. They've purchased your loyalty with crumbs and your silence with favors. True power demands independence. When you pay your own way, you walk unowned. You can speak your mind, act without fear, and negotiate without compromise. The self-made never fear loss because they built what they have with their own hands. But the one who survives on another's table lives in quiet submission, afraid to offend, afraid to leave, afraid to starve. Better to eat little in freedom than feast in servitude. The free lunch also robs you of growth. Effort forges strength. Struggle shapes wisdom. To skip the process is to skip the power that comes from it. Those who inherit fortune or status without labor often crumble under its weight because they never learn the cost of what they hold. The comfort of the unearned breeds entitlement, and entitlement rots the soul. The strong crave challenge, not charity. Even generosity must be examined. Ask yourself, why is this being offered to me? Is it kindness or calculation? The world is filled with people who give to take later, who disguise their hunger behind smiles. Accepting a gift without suspicion is to hand over leverage. The powerful thank the giver, but they never depend on the gift. They keep their debts few, their gratitude measured, their autonomy sacred. Despising the free lunch does not mean rejecting all kindness. It means recognizing that everything has a price. When you do accept help, repay it swiftly and with interest. Never allow another to hold the memory of generosity over you. The moment someone can say, "You owe me," your freedom is gone. In business, in love, in politics, the principle remains the same. The one who pays owns the power. The one who takes becomes beholden. To despise the free lunch is to value your independence above comfort, your integrity above ease. So pay your way, always. Pay in effort, in sacrifice, in discipline. Build what you want rather than beg for it. Let others chase shortcuts and favors. They will never understand the quiet pride of the self-sufficient. The true meal, the one that nourishes, is the one you earn. The rest is poison dressed as kindness. Avoid stepping into a great man's shoes. Nothing suffocates greatness faster than the shadow of a legend. To step into the shoes of a great man is to walk on sacred ground that is not your own, to inherit not power, but comparison. The world will not see you, it will see only the ghost of the one who came before. Every word, every action, every success will be measured against the memory of their glory. And memories, unlike people, never falter, never fade, never err. Competing with perfection, especially one preserved in nostalgia, is a battle already lost. The power that once elevated them now becomes a cage for you. Their achievements will define the limits of your potential. Their story will dictate your narrative. People will not ask what you can build. They will ask whether you can rebuild what has already been lost. In trying to imitate their greatness, you become their echo, not their successor. True power does not come from walking a path already paved. It comes from carving your own. History is littered with those who dared to inherit greatness and drowned in its weight. The heirs of kings, the successors of prophets, the replacements of visionaries, they all learned that legacy is both a crown and a curse. Alexander's generals divided his empire, but never his brilliance. The sons of great inventors, artists, and leaders often fade into obscurity, not because they lacked talent, but because they lacked space to be seen. The glow of the predecessor blinds the audience to the one who follows. To avoid this trap, you must break the pattern entirely. Do not try to continue what was, redefine what can be. Let the world feel that a new age has begun, that your reign, your era, your identity stands apart from the one before it. When Augustus succeeded Julius Caesar, he did not try to imitate the warrior. Instead, he became the builder, the stabilizer. By transforming Rome's chaos into order, he made himself irreplaceable. He honored Caesar's shadow, but refused to live in it. This law is not just about history, it applies to life itself. Take over a business, a role, a relationship, and you inherit expectations. Everyone around you already has a script for how you should act, who you should be. Break that script immediately. Surprise them. Change the language, the rhythm, the rules. Make them forget the old story because the new one is too compelling to ignore. The psychology behind this is primal. People cling to the familiar. It makes them feel safe. But admiration for the past is rarely loyalty. It's habit. If you want power, you must disrupt that habit. Give them contrast, not continuity. Let your difference be your declaration. The moment they realize you are not a copy, they will stop comparing and start adjusting. But take care. Rebellion without purpose is destruction, not transformation. Do not reject the past out of resentment. Transcend it through reinvention. Honor what came before, then surpass it through originality. Make your power so distinct that even the memory of the great man becomes merely a chapter in the story you now write. To step into a great man's shoes is to walk backward, but to forge your own path is to make the world turn toward you. Let the ghosts of the past rest where they belong, in legend, while you build your own myth in the light of the present. Strike the shepherd, and the sheep will scatter. Power often moves through bodies that lead others without force. A charismatic leader, a dominant influencer, a trusted voice. Remove that single source of direction, and the structure that depended on it unravels. The shepherd organizes, defends, and inspires. The sheep follow not because of deep loyalty, but because someone stands at the front and gives shape to their fear, hope, and routine. Attack the head, and the body loses its rhythm. The lesson is ruthless in its clarity. Identify the node that holds a group together and undermine it, and you will watch cohesion dissolve like mist. This is not merely tactical cruelty, it is strategic economy. Confronting every face in a crowd is wasteful and dangerous. A single well-placed strike saves time, resources, and exposure. When power concentrates around one person, that person's removal creates a vacuum, confusion, infighting, and the sudden visibility of conflicting ambitions. The followers who once marched because marching made sense now hesitate because no one defines the path. Chaos breeds opportunity. In that chaos, you move, decide, and recreate the order to your advantage. History trembles with examples. Remove the charming tyrant who binds a court and watch alliances snap like brittle twigs. Assassinate a revolutionary's leader and the movement splinters into petty quarrels. Convince the trusted counselor that their influence is compromised and the client stumbles. The psychological truth is simple. People prefer the shortcut of following a strong guide rather than thinking for themselves. Deprive them of that guide, and they are left to face the terror of choice, anxiety that opens the door to manipulation. This tactic is not necessarily violent. Reputation can be the blade. Expose the shepherd's hypocrisy, reveal their secrets, or turn their closest allies against them. Social death precedes political death. When the shepherd's legitimacy is questioned, every follower reevaluates their commitment. Loyalties built on charisma and convenience collapse under the light of scandal or doubt. The crowd scatters because their reason for following, trust in the shepherd, no longer holds. There is moral risk in wielding this law. Striking the leader can cause real harm to innocents who depended on stability, and the aftermath can be unpredictable. Yet the calculus of power ignores sentiment. It measures outcomes. The skill lies in timing and precision. Know when the shepherd is weak, when followers are already uncertain, when your blow will convert shock into disarray rather than rally resistance. A clumsy attack breeds martyrs. A clever one dissolves networks. Mastery of this principle requires a surgeon's hand. Remove influence without leaving a body to rally. Plant doubt subtly, let whispers spread, and then, when the shepherd falls, be ready to shape the new story. The scattered sheep will look for a new voice. If you control the narrative, you can shepherd them in your direction. In the theater of power, the head dictates the movements of the crowd, cut its strings, and the puppets tumble, pliant and exposed. Work on the hearts and minds of others. Power gained through fear is fragile. It lasts only as long as the threat does. True, enduring influence is won through emotion, by mastering not the body, but the heart and the mind. The powerful understand that people are not machines to be commanded. They are vessels of longing, pride, insecurity, and hope. If you wish to rule them, inspire them. If you wish to control them, understand them. When you win hearts, loyalty grows roots. When you win minds, obedience follows willingly. At the core of every human being is a deep hunger to feel seen, valued, and understood. Most never receive that gift, but the one who can offer it, even as an illusion, holds a rare power. People will forgive cruelty if it comes wrapped in empathy. They will follow orders if they believe it honors their dignity. The master of hearts and minds manipulates, not through domination, but through connection. They make others feel chosen. To work on the heart is to speak the language of emotion. Appeal to people's vanity, their dreams, their sense of destiny. Give them symbols to believe in, your words, your image, your vision, and they will weave their identity around yours. People defend what feels personal. They fight harder for what they love than for what they fear. The leader who stirs devotion commands armies with whispers. To work on the mind is to plant ideas that feel like self-discovery. Never tell someone what to think, guide them to it. The most persuasive ideas are the ones people believe they arrived at themselves. Suggest, don't insist. Question, don't declare. Once a thought takes root in their mind as their own, they will defend it with passion, even against you. That is how you create believers instead of followers. History belongs to those who have mastered both, the saints, the kings, the visionaries. They built empires not with armies, but with emotion. They made people love them, fear disappointing them, feel chosen by them. They understood that hearts could be chained with affection, that minds could be reshaped with belief. The tyrant who rules by terror must watch his back every hour. The one who rules through love and meaning can sleep soundly. But the art is delicate. Sincerity must always appear real, even when it is crafted. To win hearts, you must show warmth. To win minds, intelligence. Too much manipulation and people feel the strings. Too much detachment and they feel coldness. The perfect balance is to care just enough, to mirror their hopes until they see themselves reflected in you. In every sphere of power, politics, business, romance, the same truth burns bright. People are emotional creatures wearing rational masks. Tear at the mask and they resist. Speak to the feeling beneath it and they open willingly. Inspire love, loyalty, admiration, or even guilt. Any emotion that binds them to you. Let them think you are their ally, their guide, their mirror. Control hearts and minds, and you control behavior without commands. People will give more freely when they believe they are acting from their own will. Rule their hearts, and they will protect you. Rule their minds, and they will justify you. Rule both, and they will never think to resist. Disarm and infuriate with the mirror effect. There is no weapon more unsettling than reflection. When you mirror someone, imitate their tone, their attitude, their tactics, you rob them of control. You give them back their own energy. Twist it slightly and watch as confusion blooms behind their eyes. The mirror effect is psychological warfare disguised as mimicry. It exposes the vanity, hypocrisy, and insecurity of others by showing them exactly who they are, too clearly for their comfort. People can resist arguments, deny accusations, and fight back against aggression, but they cannot fight their own reflection. To disarm through mirroring is to enter your enemy's mind and reflect it back with precision. If they are angry, you mirror calmness, so complete it unsettles them. If they are manipulative, you mirror their flattery until they drown in it. If they accuse, you mirror their tone so flawlessly they begin to question themselves. The mirror confuses because it denies reaction. It gives no fuel for escalation, no emotion to read, no weakness to exploit. They strike, and the blow bounces back unseen. When someone feels mirrored, they lose footing. Their power relies on pushing others into emotional territory, provoking fear, guilt, or defense. But the mirror stands still. It neither fights nor yields. It forces them to face the absurdity of their own actions. The more they attack, the more ridiculous they appear. Their anger grows as your composure remains unmoved. Nothing enrages a manipulator more than silence that feels like understanding. Mirroring also seduces. When used with subtlety, it builds trust, even intimacy. People instinctively like those who seem similar to them. Matching their gestures, tone, or rhythm creates subconscious harmony. But this harmony is deceptive. It gives you access to their guard. They open up, unaware that every secret they reveal is ammunition you can later turn against them. The same mirror that comforts can also destroy. History is full of masters of this technique. Diplomats who echoed their rivals' arguments until they folded in self-contradiction. Revolutionaries who mimicked the rhetoric of tyrants to expose their emptiness. Lovers who mirrored passion only to reveal manipulation beneath it. In each case, the mirror's power came from its simplicity. It made the opponent wrestle with themselves. The mirror effect requires control. It is not imitation. It is precision mimicry, sharpened with intent. The moment you reveal emotion, the spell breaks. The power lies in reflection without reaction, in stillness that amplifies chaos. When you become the mirror, you own the tempo. You make the aggressor dance to their own rhythm, tire themselves out, and unravel. There is also cruelty in this law, and that cruelty is useful. To mirror arrogance is to make it grotesque. To echo manipulation is to turn it inside out. To reflect indifference is to make it unbearable. You do not need to humiliate directly. You let their own behavior do the work. Their fury at being exposed only tightens your grip. They cannot call you guilty without condemning themselves. To disarm and infuriate with the mirror effect is to vanish behind reflection, to become untouchable, unreadable, inevitable. You are the echo of their choices, the consequence of their own character, and in that haunting reflection, they will either see the truth or break themselves trying not to. Preach the need for change, but never reform too much at once. Change is seductive. It promises renewal, freedom, progress. But beneath its beauty lies danger. Human beings cling to the familiar like shipwrecked sailors to drifting wood. They will cry out for change with their mouths, while their hearts clutch the comfort of habit. The reformer who moves too quickly forgets this truth and pays for it not with failure, but with rebellion. To change the world, or even a single person, you must understand the pace of fear. Power demands transformation, but transformation must be disguised as continuity. Announce revolution, and people panic. Whisper evolution, and they nod in approval. The secret is to make the new seem like a natural unfolding of the old. Let people believe they are keeping what they love, even as you reshape it beneath their feet. When they finally see the transformation, it will feel inevitable, not forced. Throughout history, great rulers and strategists learned this law through blood and chaos. The French Revolution promised liberty and reason but drowned itself in terror because it tried to erase everything at once: the throne, the church, the very rhythm of life. Centuries earlier, Augustus rebuilt Rome from the ashes of civil war by pretending nothing had changed. He kept the Senate, the titles, the rituals, but the empire he created belonged entirely to him. He gave the people the illusion of tradition while holding absolute control. The crowd obeys not truth, but familiarity. In every domain, politics, business, art, even love, the same rule applies. Too much disruption breeds resistance. The worker who sees his routine threatened clings to the old system even if it hurts him. The lover who feels replaced by a new version of you resents the transformation. The public praises innovation, but worships stability. The wise reformer understands this paradox. Progress must feel like preservation. To move powerfully, cloak your change in reassurance. Speak the language of the past while steering toward the future. Let your tone be calm, your gestures measured. Create symbols of continuity, familiar faces, familiar rituals, familiar phrases to lull anxiety. Then, step by step, introduce the new until the old has quietly vanished. The art of power is not to fight resistance head-on, but to dissolve it before it forms. This law is not only political, it is psychological. People fear losing control more than they fear stagnation. They will follow the one who makes them feel safe, even in transformation. When they sense that you honor their past, they will let you rewrite their future. But betray that illusion, mock their old ways, discard their beliefs, and they will crucify you, no matter how noble your cause. So, preach change, speak of renewal, of progress, of destiny. Inspire them with visions of tomorrow, but deliver it in doses they can swallow. Lead them gently across the threshold, not with shock, but with subtlety, because real power does not announce itself with fire and thunder. It arrives like dawn, soft,
certain, and unstoppable. Never appear too perfect. Perfection provokes what talent alone cannot: envy. The moment you seem flawless, the world begins to resent you. People forgive mistakes. They never forgive superiority. They will not admit it, but beneath admiration lies jealousy, and jealousy is a quiet, corrosive hatred. To appear too perfect is to stand alone, glowing too brightly in a room that secretly hopes to see you dim. Humans crave balance. They admire strength but relate to weakness. When you erase every flaw, you erase the bridge that connects you to others. The perfect person becomes a mirror that reflects inadequacy, and few can bear their own reflection for long. They will smile to your face and curse your name in silence. Even your success becomes offensive, not because of what you've done, but because of what it reminds them they haven't. The wise understand this and learn to humanize their greatness. They leave small imperfections visible, calculated cracks in the marble. They laugh at their own errors, share harmless flaws, and occasionally let others believe they need guidance. This isn't humility, it's strategy. By sprinkling traces of vulnerability, you disarm envy. You give others permission to admire you without feeling small. It allows your superiority to be palatable, even likable. History's most powerful figures understood the necessity of imperfection. Julius Caesar would joke about his thinning hair to distract from his growing dominance. Elizabeth I cultivated the image of the Virgin Queen, but her charm lay in her wit and temper, flaws that made her feel vividly human. The artists, the leaders, the geniuses who endured through generations were those who allowed a hint of imperfection to breathe inside their myth. The flawless, by contrast, burn too brightly and too briefly. Perfection invites challenge. When you appear invulnerable, others test you, not to defeat you, but to prove to themselves that you can bleed. They conspire, they gossip, they wait for a stumble, and when it finally comes, they celebrate it with savage joy. A single failure after a life of triumph becomes a spectacle because it reassures them that the world is fair again. Do not give them that satisfaction. Control your image before they control it for you. Let small mistakes work in your favor. Admit a trivial flaw with charm. Confess a minor ignorance or lose a small battle you could have won. It makes your victories seem more authentic, your brilliance more natural. A person who wins too easily inspires suspicion. A person who struggles just enough earns admiration. Power, after all, is not about being perfect. It's about being believable. But beware of overplaying your flaws. The balance must feel effortless. A deliberate stumble is effective only if no one sees your hand guiding it. The illusion of imperfection must seem genuine. The powerful appear human, but never weak, approachable, but never ordinary. To seem too perfect is to invite isolation. The higher you rise, the lonelier perfection becomes, because it leaves no room for warmth. The imperfect thrive among others, surrounded by loyalty disguised as love. The perfect stand alone, admired from afar, waiting for the day admiration turns into envy's blade. Perfection shines, but it also blinds. Let your brilliance breathe. Hide a crack or two in your armor. Let others see just enough shadow to believe you are real. For only the gods can afford perfection, and even they, in the oldest stories, fell because of it.